Nouvelle histoire d'une femme mariée. Elle a tout pris mon cœur, ma head on papoulet. Elle me donne l'argent, mais son
Mashallah.
body même.
It's actually very great to be out and see these guys produce these works. It always warms my heart and like rekindles some kind of, I don't know, man. When I see these guys succeed in doing something, I'm really encouraged to also take a step further towards my own
Yeah.
dreams. You feel that way too?
Hmm?
Like each time this our artists release like new songs or there's some new talent in Cameroon, it's like
Yeah.
that talent is infused in me. I also feel like, to take a step towards my own dream.
Yeah.
That's the only thing that keeps me like watching and waiting for these guys to release new stuff, man. Yeah,
Is it live?
DJ.
Is
Yeah,
this live already?
yeah, we're live. I sent you the link.
Oh wow, we are live.
I
Okay.
sent you the Facebook link. Yeah.
Usually it says somewhere that we are live. It doesn't say that anymore.
I'm using OBS now.
Oh.
Yeah, so yeah. Let me show you. Yeah, like I was saying, DJ man, like I remember when Tenor emerged, I was alright, that semester I was taking algorithms too. And
Yeah.
it used to be difficult, man. They will give us all this tree sort and those things to analyze. You have to do lean, log, this kind of complex math that sometimes merged with the fright that you have when your assignment is late. Life can be kind of very, very frightful at that time. So Tenor and the rest, when they came, it gave me some kind of energy, man, that like I'll never forget.
Yeah. Especially there was a time when things were very, like people were releasing songs all the time.
Yeah.
Blue as well. It was good.
Yeah.
You put my name there, senior somewhere.
Yeah, I actually feel bad saying that because I don't know how to describe. That would just be one thing. Yeah, that would just be one thing.
DJ Perez, senior somewhere. Okay. Let me just change my name on this one. So, how do I rename it?
Yeah, I share it on my own wall.
I need to change the batteries on my keyboard.
Because DJ, nowadays, like the world, there are so many tags that it's not easy to navigate the world of communication today. Like, how will you call yourself? Designer, developer, architect? You can do all of those things. Which one will you choose? You see what I mean? So I was very confused when I was typing like DJ. I mean, what will I put there? Senior DJ. Mashallah. DJ, welcome, man. It's been a while. I've not had this.
Yeah,
This
I know.
thing is very therapeutic to me. You know what I mean?
We haven't had
yeah.
a chat in a long time.
Yeah. What have you been up to?
I've been up to so much, man. There's been so much happening. In what it depends in what
In the public
What?
domain.
part.
What is public? If you're doing Java or C Sharp.
Oh, I'm doing a documentary, man.
Oh yeah?
Well, we are doing a documentary.
Tell me, what is it about?
So you know how we organize a festival here, like an African festival here every year,
Uh-huh.
and because of COVID, we couldn't do it this year. So
Yeah.
we started thinking about what we could do instead of just canceling the event.
Uh-huh.
So we decided that we're gonna do a documentary. Well, we can't have the event, So we decided that since we can't have the event and doing a digital festival is quite hard, so it's very hard to provide a good experience digitally. So we decided to just create a documentary that will explain how we all started, why we're doing this, and what goes into making a festival, the Sounds of Africa Festival. So basically things like that. And I think it's really cool. So it gives me it gives me some idea on how we produce film, of like filming and
Yeah, right.
how to film and all these things, which is cool. So I like it.
Are you like, what part of the production are you really involved in? Do you do like directing, uh,
Well, I don't,
producing, or composing using the software and stuff like that? What is
first of
that?
all, I
Yeah.
don't know. I've never done it before. Let me just make
Yeah.
it clear.
Mhm.
So we're just going with the flow.
Yeah.
And we have someone in our team who is a videographer and he's helping us. I also have a friend who is like a really professional into these things.
Yeah.
So he's helping us when he can as well. And I think the whole team is just working on it. We're
That's a
just
lot.
going,
Yeah.
we're
I see.
just
It's passion.
creating, we're just going with the flow. If we need
Passion.
to direct it, we direct it. If we
Yeah.
need to interview someone, we interview someone. But we have an idea of what we want it to be when we are just doing whatever it takes to make it look like that. And then we are not professionals. We've never done it before. So we're just going with the flow.
But
Yeah.
that's what real professionals do. They go with the flow.
I think professionals, I think it's different. I think professionals have a blueprint. Professionals, when you're, let's say, a software developer, for example, you have a blueprint on how to do something. Like you have that foundation. But if you have never done it before,
Oh, I
and if you're
see.
not a
Yeah. It's not
professional,
yet in your
then
bones. Yeah.
you will do it differently.
Well,
I think
actually,
that's why we all go to school to be trained to have that blueprint.
yeah.
And then,
I see.
yeah, because if I had gone to school to learn how to film or how to make movies, I would have followed what I was taught at school. But since I've never been, I'm just going with the flow like that. If we have to do an interview, if we have to do shootings, we're just coming up with ways to do it.
Well, that's
Yeah,
interesting, DJ. And actually, what I meant by professionals actually go with the flow, because if you practice, there will be a time when that blueprint, either you become the blueprint. So why you like programming? Like when I program, I don't. I only see what I did after. I don't know if you see what I mean. Sometimes I'm
yeah,
just doing it. Like I'm just coding, and just going and just going. It's only later that I can actually come and look at it. So that's what I meant by going with the flow. That's what I say, that I think the professionals are going with the
yeah,
flow. But I see what you mean. And even about
yeah,
schools and training, sometimes that may get in the way. I'll give you an example. You see how now they say most schools are like Java schools, because the industry needs Java programmers. Like when I was in uni, they taught us how to program with Java. You see, so
yeah,
perhaps they will just teach you how to code to build industry applications, and then you
yeah,
come out as that person that thinks one way. So perhaps if you go to school as as a videographer, you may be trained to be this very person that only thinks very rigidly. You see what I mean? But now your
yes,
passion will drive you, and you would really, and also for the fear of failure,
yes,
or the fear of like not blowing shit up, you probably
yes,
follow the flow. Like, yeah, I mean, this is a beautiful experience. Actually, you guys may do something
yeah.
really quality.
I really enjoy this. I think it's amazing what we can achieve with that. It also gives us a bit of insight on how to produce video content,
Yeah,
because you know how video content is becoming really, really popular,
yeah,
and that's
right.
what people consume the most these days.
Yeah,
So, so it gives us a bit of knowledge on how to do this. So if you want to do it in the future, at least we have done something.
yeah. I see. I see. Wow.
Yeah. So
Well,
it's
from a
cool.
track record, DJ man, I know you ace it. I mean, DJ, software developing, development, math, things like that. I mean, you guys will ace it. But
Thanks.
when is there
Oh,
any release date or and website that we can check? I can share my screen.
for now, no.
Okay.
For now, the release date is on the 19th of December.
Okay.
Our website is not live at the moment. We used to have a website that was on Wix, but it expired. I need to actually upload a new website, which I've been thinking of doing for, I don't know, 2 months.
Bachelor,
two
yeah, I
months.
see, I
So
see.
I'll need to pick a weekend, block some time on the weekend, maybe next weekend, and then revamp our website and put all the details about the documentary. The reason why I haven't also done that is because, a documentary is something that is there. So even to promote the documentary later, it's already there. It's not like an event that we should promote and there's a set date. The
Yeah,
documentary is there, it's sitting there, so you can promote it anytime.
yeah,
So
but
right now
there's,
we're
yeah.
just doing very organic promotion now.
Okay, I see. There is actually,
Yeah.
even in software development, with the whole lean startup movement, there there's some school of releasing software that is borrowing from how films are done, and artists in Cameroon also use that model where you use a
Mm.
teaser, you put like a teaser. Someone, let's say if Kosi does a video, he release 5 seconds, 10 seconds of it, and say that this will be released on that day, just like the trailer,
Mm-hmm.
right? But in this domain, you put some sort of a subscription so that some people can enter their emails if they're interested, and they can be notified with the
Yes.
timeline, yeah, and stuff like that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Uh-huh.
So we are going to do that. I think. I think we are going to do that. To be honest, I haven't thought yet about how we're going to promote it, but because we're planning to release it on the 19th of December, so 2 weeks before, we're gonna think about how we can create something viral, like a trailer or something like that, and then have people subscribe to know when it's released, and then premiere it on YouTube. Maybe do a small event on the 19th of December with
Okay.
the release. So we haven't fully thought about the whole thing. Now we're just focused on doing all the shootings that are necessary
Yeah.
for the documentary, and then we'll put it out there.
Mashallah. It means you've been busy, man.
So yeah, that's one thing that I've been doing, which is cool. What else have I been doing? I've been also very lazy at programming.
Yeah.
I haven't been feeling too well, so I haven't been programming too much or doing too much in terms of coding and stuff. I only came back. I gave myself first holidays the whole of November, no, the whole of October and even September, and I'm just slowly getting back into coding now.
Okay, I see.
Yeah.
Mashallah. Well, that would make you regain your health when you jump back in, and
Well,
then you start. If only it does not stress you.
we hope so. Only we hope so. Mm.
Mashallah.
What about you? What's new? Well, I know many
Yeah,
things are new, but
a lot of
like,
things. Yeah, a lot of things. Uh,
yeah,
First, I mean, I've been doing Anglophone Youth Conference with the Tino Foy.
yeah,
Yeah, for a while. I think since the killings back in
yeah.
Cuba. Yeah. So after that, Tino actually was hit by the whole tragedy really hard, and he was thinking of his solution. A lot of
Yeah.
other people. If you notice, if you remember, I was also doing some sort of a challenge that period, like riding the push stop tanking the president.
Yeah.
Because we are almost like we're in a very polarizing world, and a lot of things happen that if you really want to think about them, it doesn't do us justice, or we don't do ourselves justice. Like we either let certain things go, and it was just very worrisome. And then those kids
Uh-huh.
died. There's just a lot of confusion everywhere. COVID, the pandemic, just a lot of things happening, and
Yeah.
I also wanted to do something instead of just talking about the things. You see what I mean?
Yeah.
So yeah, so that time too, like Tino hit me about developing some AYC. It's really really interesting, like the project and the way it was described to me. It gave me some kind of sense of patriotism, and it set aflame some kind of a new passion.
Mm.
You see, yeah.
So, what is the goal of
Okay.
AYC,
Yeah. I mean
or
the
the vision, or like
yeah, right.
what's the end goal of AYC?
I mean, most fundamentally, the idea is that whatever dialogue has to happen in Cameroon, the youth should have a say. They should not just sit
Yes.
and hear that this has happened or that has happened. So they don't want to hear
Yeah.
this and that. They want we should be able to participate. You see, and it's resounding of a lot of other realities that in the country that are either taken for granted or are not explored completely. You and I have had
Uh-huh.
conversations about how fair we should be when judging our realities, in the sense that the government is not doing nothing. Like they're actually
Uh-huh.
doing things. How much of the amenities that are at their dispositions have we used? You see, so such questions, and now at the very primitive level of AYC, that's Anglophone Youth Conference, is the idea that use your voice to say what you want. You see, so how? The problem now is how, right?
Yes.
So yeah, so it gives you an umbrella of tools that you can make your voice heard. So first, membership, that you belong to the platform, and then there will be like polling, votes, and you could represent. It could actually capture your reality in the country, and should be able to give you economic and political power. You see what I mean? In the sense that uh, if you as a youth can make a voice that is heard, be it through polls, you can say, okay, I vote for this or I suggest this, and the majority of the people vote. Little by little, there will be this voice that can impart economic and political power or motions. You see, so
Mm.
that's just philosophical. Just giving you the idea philosophically, but I can share my screen and show you like what we have so far. And so,
Yeah.
yeah, and then for my conversations with Tino, because we actually try to capture the reason behind it, and that's what
Yeah.
will drive us. So I another thing is today social Facebook is like the metrics, right? Like a lot of youths are on Facebook, but where has that taken us to? What are the activities that we're performing on Facebook? How did they help us advance? Right?
Yeah.
Uh, let's say when we were back in Boya, when we did seminar party and stuff like that, Facebook, we used to
Yeah.
have pages, we put pictures, and there was that sense of togetherness and sense of motion that we would get from it. But
Yeah.
today, it's almost like those on Facebook are all tired. Like we've been on it so much that we're just complaining all the time. Well, it depends on your circle, you see, but if you look around, that's mostly like what is happening. Either music wise, people are complaining about music, or video wise, people are complaining about movies and stuff like that. So
Yeah.
we need some platform that we can like go there and be very proactive and bring the change that we want to hear about, and so that it will not just be a place for action, but a place that we can all build. You see what I mean? So
Yeah. I
AYC,
understand.
yeah.
So I guess what is happening is, first of all, you don't want to have these discussions on Facebook because,
Exactly.
first of all, let's say Facebook is private; it doesn't belong to Cameroonians.
Yeah.
It's yeah, it gives a lot of features, but it's way too big, and you might not have control on that over that. And on top of that, if Facebook is not happy with what we are doing, you can be banned or
Yeah.
something like that.
Exactly.
So you want to build your own platform, which is perfect.
Yeah.
And then secondly, you want to be able to have all these people who are willing to speak, who are willing to change things, who are willing to participate in the development of the whole country, but they
Exactly.
really don't know how to. So you want to have them onto the same platform and give
Yes.
them the opportunity to speak.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
How is the speaking done? So at that level, how
Yeah.
do you
So
digitally capture the voices of people in a fair way?
exactly. So for a start, just like just like how when you join a group, set right in math, you're a member because of some property that you own. So
Mm-hmm.
we would like to be driven by respect, right, and the desire for change, and
Mm-hmm.
also to be given the opportunity to do things right. You see, so now if you see that as a base, it means that if you register on the platform, you can just represent who you are as an anglophone. So for
Mm-hmm.
example, I can say I'm from the southwest. I'm from like my already I can belong to the nearest city that I can participate politically in terms of voting and in terms of
Okay, I see what you
like
mean.
brigades, almost like a brigade, right? You have these little brigades that can represent who one is up to the regional level. So
Yeah.
now, since Anglophones is split at the very at the highest level in terms of northwest, southwest, those could be like two groups that can empower us
Mm-hmm.
politically. So now, when people come, we'll start organizing events and activities that they can start voting. We'll say, okay, all those of you around Kumba or that municipality, vote for your representative. Just what is done on land, but we can't do that now. The way things are, so we'll just make it virtual, right? Okay,
Mm,
now vote for your representative or your secretary or your legislator. Once that is done, those people would bubble that up to the regional level. So you can also have
Yeah.
those that will represent you. If you have those voices, it's now
Yeah.
easy and logical to go to the government and say, hi, for the past 4 years, or for the past 7 years, or for the past 60 years, this has happened. What do you have in the archives? This is what we propose. You see, like to have dialogue, or if there's any dialogue, or to say, hey, how far with the
I
dialogue?
see.
Is it that
I see.
voice? Yeah. So we have to do
Yeah.
something. If not, time will just fly as it's been flying, and then we'll just be all over the place doing nothing.
I see. I see. That's valuable data that you're getting. Is really valuable data. So one big thing will be to make sure that the people who are subscribing are unique,
Yeah.
and also to make sure that they are real,
Yeah.
to not affect the data
Yes.
that you will
Right.
be getting
Yeah.
from it. Yeah.
Integrity.
But I
Everything
think
is.
this is good.
Let me show you my screen actually.
It's kind of like data harvesting, but I think this is good because that's what Facebook is doing anyway. That's what Google is doing. That's what all these big companies are doing.
Exactly.
They're just harvesting data, but you want to use it
So it's
to
solving
really
a problem.
reflect, to really
You want to solve a
reflect what
problem.
people are thinking right now to help now with the dialogue.
Exactly.
Yeah. The Anglophone crisis is it's
It's
a
slowing us
complex
down.
one,
Yeah, it's slowing us down. It's slowing everyone down. So if
and
we
yeah,
if we solve it, there's a lot of things, resources, everything to go around. So
yeah.
yeah, so
It's very strange because right now there's
uh,
so many problems in Africa because
yeah,
there's wars everywhere.
yeah,
Cameroon is an example
mhm,
of what is happening. You have Nigeria
yeah,
next door
exactly,
that's bleeding.
yeah,
You have people who are not happy, for example, in Cote d'Ivoire. You have Mozambique. People are fighting in Mozambique. You have Ethiopia. People are fighting in Ethiopia.
yeah,
Well, you have the never-ending Libya conflicts. Well, not
yeah,
Libya, but conflicts in the Sahel region.
yeah,
You have somehow South Africa also that's unstable with xenophobia.
yeah.
There's so many
So many
problems
ills, man. Yeah,
everywhere,
so many.
and it seems like governments don't know how to solve them. So this is a good test case.
Yeah,
It's a good way to test and see
yeah,
how it's going to go.
yeah. Can you see my screen?
Yeah, I can see your screen.
Yeah, and I mean, and it's also about it's great, it's good for us to have these problems. As I mean, trained as a problem solver, be it in the guise of engineering or designer or architect, problems are like chances to use tools, to make tools, and to move forward. Right? If you
Yes.
look at other civilizations, be it Egypt, be it France, Europe, even America, they've gone through things like this. These are the things that like make us know who we are. Like gold is tested in hot fire. Is it
Yeah.
so we have to work when things like this happen instead of just maybe giving in or following the waves. We have to like set a wave because we are the youth today. If we don't use the skills we have acquired, be it in terms of it could be a mathematician, a software developer, a writer. If we don't use those skills today, when shall we use them?
I agree with you 100%. It's usually through tough times that you can build a nation's identity. Well, the government has already publicly accepted that. Well, the Cameroon government has already publicly accepted that they have failed into creating a unique identity, a unique Cameroonian identity by merging the English-speaking and the French-speaking regions.
Yeah.
I mean, I think this is something that the government has already publicly accepted
Yeah, right.
that they failed to do it. But if they fail to do it, I think it's still possible to think about a better way of creating that identity, because with time, I think they have failed also because they are not in touch with what is happening on the field. They're not in touch with the realities on the field. And if this can lift those realities and give them visibility, or at least help to present what is happening better, so we can take better decisions, then that would be good.
Yeah. So I mean, from a philosophical level, that's it. Like we want that tool that we can use to make our voices heard, and bring people together, that community, and we'll try to institute all the necessary measures to maintain data security. And it's
Mm-hmm.
also a learning and environment for growth for all of us, because a lot of civilization and progress has been, as while from time immemorial, a lot of progress has been made through community work. Like maybe when people build the pyramids or when people build a cathedral somewhere, that community was always transformed by that endeavor. So we can
Yes.
also shift that to the software domain or terrain for Cameroon. Look at Linux, look at Ubuntu, look at all these other software communities, the gaming industries. It could be Angular today. You see, those communities have been transformed by a sense of purpose. You see, so we
Yes.
also want to use this to institute and instill that sense of commitment and joint effort, so that
Yeah.
our hope is that those that are writers, they can come and help write specifications or
Yeah.
write articles about it. Those that are
Write
software develop, yeah,
articles.
those
Yeah.
that are software
Yes.
developers, they can come and join. For now, Tino and I have been doing most of the things. Tino has been doing. We're using the agile technique, so he's been writing the stories like that. Would need the left nav, these items. This should be like that. So we've been doing that mostly two of us all night, man. We've been spending. I can't count the number of nights I've slept. Things
Yeah.
like that happened, and but we hope that all those that say that software developers like on Facebook, this is an opportunity for them to come and chip in their skills, or if it's that
Yes.
something new they should learn. And it's through this endeavor that it's like how a village builds the chiefs the temple, right? And because
Mm-hmm.
of the skills that I've acquired from that temple, they will be empowered so much so that they can also start building other structures for others. You see, so someone can come here and through this process, they will learn how software is built and then they can start their own business. So you see how either transitively, directly or indirectly, would create a future where people can empower themselves politically and economically.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I like the idea. Like I said, it's a very good test to see how you can bring visibility
Yeah.
to governance, more
Exactly.
visibility to governance.
Yeah.
So yeah,
And that's the
if
bedrock of
there's
agility. Visibility
if I
makes
can
people
help,
agile. Yeah, DJ, I mean, please
if I
help.
can help, let me know.
Like you, yeah, please help. Like let me walk you real quick, right? This is the platform. So far we still have, you can see the timeline here to in this without any hierarchy. These are the tools that we want to offer. You know, the nitty gritties of my account, but we also want to make it professional. You can put like almost like a resume here through this
Mm,
part, and it's very versatile. You can always like update it. Let me see, short story. I would love to see my country grow. I am ready to shed all my sweat and blood to grow my country. Well, that will be my short story,
mm-hmm.
and then it will do professionally. What will I say?
Kakashi,
Software
Kakashi
developer.
Sensei.
What else, man? These days it's not easy to know what to say. Education, computer science, mathematics, philo. So people who have the ability to put this right, hobbies, programming, and programming. So yeah, so with this, you see that the kind of social networking will be there somehow, but just the right amount. You see what I mean? Just the right
Yeah,
amount.
it's
Yeah.
very important to put the right amount.
Yeah, just like if we're putting salt or maggi, we want to put just the right, so we'll be seasoning
Yeah,
it with like this
social
media
media is social media is
facilities, just
very.
the right amount.
You have to put the right amount
Yeah.
because if you just put it anyhow, you might be shooting yourself on the foot.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Social media
yeah,
is
so
not
with
good.
that we can have profiles, and we can all build monuments of functionality on top of like profiles, and then groups. This one is under development. Groups and points. All of this will enable us to have an environment where our voices can be we can compose our voices through groups, through either as an individual, through comments, all of those. But that's the idea, and we'll try to make it last. And then
Yeah.
announcements, yeah, like this is actually live already, and through
Mm.
announcements, maybe I should just put the things that are more public, like about this. Oh, this is a branch. This is the test branch that I'm working on, so don't mind if you see all of these things. So,
Mm.
but yeah, you'd see, and we can announcements. We always have things, and then we would have like a forum that people can discuss, so we can capture ideas. You
Yeah.
see, and then in terms of groups, this is where now we'll start capturing the essence of every individual, like
Yeah.
be it in terms of like your, I mean, just to capture who you are and the groups that you belong to, both those that you belong to naturally, like you're born
Yeah.
in, maybe you live in Douala, you're an Anglophone from the northwest who lives in Douala. We should be able to capture you and put you in a group of those kinds of people. You see,
Yeah.
and then pause now to actually get the voice of the people for like pertinent
Yeah.
issues. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then voting for like important and things that we need, like it's just a normal democratic process. When there's a vote for something, then it can be
Yeah.
captured here. And then forum, again, a bigger tool for getting the voice of the people, like clear, clean voice through, I mean, like, democracy again. And then
Yeah.
suggestion box where people can do that. So for now, and then I think we should have downloads somewhere. I don't know. DJ, sorry, I just thought I should put it now. I think we should have downloads. Then there should be downloads somewhere, so that if there are artifacts that one has to download as a member, and when you have your account, let's say it could be some declaration or some article that you need to download, you can actually get
Yeah.
it from
A
your
suggestion
downloads.
box. Yeah, I see.
Under the suggestion box, I mean downloads. So I'm actually, I'll add it now, so that people can download things. You could have assets that you want to download. It could be like some article of declaration or whatever it is.
Yeah.
Yeah. So let me add that real quick. So that's it, DJ. Like, I mean, that's what I've been up to. It's actually not been easy. We have not been sleeping, but it brings it still. I feel patriotic in one way or the other. Like, I just feel like I should give it my all, and it gives me some kind of strength. And even in school, there were times when I'll do an honor either, but I'll feel like giving up. And
Mm-hmm.
then what will keep me going is maybe fear. But I would feel it in my bones. I'll feel the tiredness in my bones. This one, I just feel like to keep going. I just feel like to keep
Yeah.
going. Yeah, there's something. Something has been
When you
happening. I
have
can't
that
quite
sense of
explain.
purpose, it's so easy to work on something. It's so easy to work on something when you have that sense of purpose, especially community, when you feel like it's going to help.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's so nice to work on something. You don't even get tired. Sometimes you have to push yourself to go sleep.
yeah.
You don't get tired. Yeah, that sense of purpose is really, really important.
I added downloads, so we'll have downloads, and also I think also I'm working with Tino. I think, man, if you as a software developer, we as software developers, we often have wishes. If you're a UI developer, you wish to have a backend person that will just give you the plugins that you need or the
Yeah.
APIs that you need. If you're a backend developer, you wish to work with a UI developer that can just give you the interface to consume their APIs,
Yeah.
right? And then if you can do all of those, you probably want to work with somebody that will just write the specifications so that you can focus
Yes.
on your tasks. So our
Yeah.
collaboration
Or a
has been,
designer.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Our collaboration has been something like that, where we are very proactive. Like, we have short meetings. We did all of this in I don't think we've been doing this for up to 2 weeks. When did I tell you I was working on this? Just a few weeks, and we've been able
Probably
to put
2
all of
weeks.
this.
Yeah, I think 2 weeks.
Just a few weeks, and we've been able to like put all of this together with all the design and engineering decisions that have to go in place so that we solve all future problems that come
Yeah.
on. Yeah, so it's not been easy, but it's been interesting.
This is cool.
Mashallah. So that's that, DJ. That's what I've been up to, and there's just a lot that is going on around this, and that should go on around this. We also want to use it as some kind of a blueprint or template for progress, because I've come in contact with some developers so far, and quite
Yeah.
frankly, I'm not impressed. In the sense that, yeah, yeah, and yeah, I'm not impressed in the sense that I think I've always laid this to you. I've always told you that there are times when you have a passion about some technology and then you express it either by building an app or maybe
Yeah,
writing an article, and then you join groups on Facebook of people that are programmers, and when you share it you don't see the enthusiasm. So I begin to wonder, like, am I really with like programmers? You see what I mean?
yeah,
Because the same thing
yeah,
happens here when I'm in school. You share some little thing and people even take it to heights that you never imagined. You see, so I've always had that wonderment in me that what are we really doing? These programming groups, is it just for the name? So now with a task like this, when we try to reach out, those that come into they and I've noticed that they mostly have textbook knowledge. Like someone will tell you all the ideas about software engineering that I remember seeing in books. But when it comes to actually getting your hands dirty, let me actually see you do that thing that you saw in that. I don't see it. You see someone telling you this is wrong, that is wrong, this is wrong, but he doesn't say it because he tried to do something and it didn't work. You
yeah,
see what I mean? So it makes it, I'm wondering if we have a sense of purpose and if we know what it means to deliver. You see
yeah.
what I mean? Yeah. So that's what I'm saying.
Normally
I'm
at
impressed.
this stage, you just want to make it work. So some engineering practices will probably not be necessary.
Mm-hmm.
So the books knowledge at this time is not, might not be necessary, because you just want to make it work. You just want to have it live, and then once people are using it, then you can think about all this optimization stuff. Um, yeah, this is a trap that I used to fall into back in the
Yeah.
days.
Yeah.
And then so I want to build something, and then I always think about the best solution to build it, or the most efficient solution to build it, where it's not necessary. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, yeah, of course you want to showcase your engineering skills. You want to show that how
Yeah.
you can do
Then I
this.
can do
and
this.
as and as engineers, sometimes you want to just show that you can do this, you can do it, but quickly you learn that those skills, they are good, but most of them are not necessary. You can use 20% of the skills that you have to build 80% of things. It applies. The
Exactly. Yeah.
20/80 rules also applies to that.
Exactly.
So most of the time, you just want to know a little bit and
Mm-hmm.
just build something that works.
Yeah.
You use it, you release it, it's work, it's fine, people are using it. And then from there, you can iterate now and pick a section that you think people are using a lot, and then you make it better.
Rinse and repeat. Yeah. and
Yeah.
and actually, DJ, also it's it's also about the craft itself. If when I look at most applications, maybe from Nigeria, from Cameroon, they're mostly like WordPress and other content management systems, right?
Mm-hmm.
And while they say don't reinvent the wheel, so a lot of people take that literally, and they forget that if you can whip something together faster than you can customize WordPress, then whip the thing together. And then,
Exactly.
yeah, exactly. And then also with the advent of applications like Google Maps and all these apps that feel these reactive applications, you see that platforms like WordPress and maybe the PHP suite of apps and development tools are still to catch up with some of
Yes.
the modern, like the Reacty kind of applications, the Angular kind of applications. So I've noticed that those in Cameroon and perhaps in Nigeria, they have not still caught up with that trend. So
Yeah.
then it's hard now when those developers, when they come to join a project that is using like those, they still want to cling to the WordPress kind of way of doing things. You see, both in
This is
terms of
something that I've
architecture.
analyzed a lot.
Yeah,
It's so true.
yeah,
One thing, so usually when you want to start a project, you will need to find out the tools
yeah.
that you need for that project.
Mm-hmm.
But you pick your tools based on the functionalities that you want to provide.
Yes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, but people just use things like WordPress de facto. So it's like, no,
Yeah.
this is what we know. This is what we're going to use. It's fine. It's
Uh-huh.
okay.
Yeah.
But one thing that I've noticed
Mm-hmm.
that where it affects people the most is because it creates an inability to implement features.
Yeah, exactly. And to
So
move, to iterate, like go through features
yeah.
fast. Yeah.
So why am I saying that? Because now you're playing in the field of WordPress,
Mm-hmm.
and you will do things that make sense in the WordPress field. But the problem is when you're building a software, normally a software should be able to model any situation that you have.
Exactly.
So you are limiting yourself, and then whenever you have a new feature or you want to please your customers in a different way, let's say you have noticed in your analytics that people like to create a post using this. So let's say you want to improve that or streamline that process.
Yeah.
Sometimes WordPress, you will limit yourself, will just limit yourself.
Yeah.
So if you want to build something great, yes, WordPress might be quick, but if you think there will be lots of customization coming in hand and you want to have the flexibility to change it however you want later, WordPress is not the best.
Yeah, man. And like the way I summarize this, especially to like developers that come in with that spirit and would listen, is that your mind is your pencil, and then Angular
Yeah.
or React is your paper. So I'm only limited by how much I can imagine. I don't want to be limited by WordPress's ability to do something. Like when you study the architecture of WordPress, right? It has the old model. If I click on a link, it will reload the page. So reloading it, I will lose all the context of that page. For me to avoid that, I have to start saving state. I have to start doing, you see, but Angular gives me that already. When I have the router, it only changes the view. You see, so why use WordPress and try to recreate that, whereas I can just use a platform which has that as part of his vocabulary, like as part of his, if I look at it metaphysically, that's his reality. I don't need to refresh things. When I click on links, they just change like that.
And that is a massive problem with WordPress that people actually don't realize. And this is it affects people for data consumption. You know, back home, for example, or in most countries in Africa, data is a big problem. So if you always have to reload the whole page all the time, you're consuming more data, and it's going to be potentially slow because the internet might not be fast. So what you want to do is request the smallest amount of packets from your server. And then WordPress, because it's always server rendered, and you don't want that sometimes. You just want to just get the data from the API, have your client implement all of this, and it's going to be quick.
Exactly. And
that's why single page apps are really good in our context. Single page app are really good in our context. But it's just much easier for people to spin up things in WordPress. So, and then also when people know that they are making money from it, they don't sometimes want to cross the line and go on the other side. They are like, no, I'm just gonna stay with whatever is comfortable for me now, and then that's it. And that is a problem.
And that's fine though. But if we come and we're working on a project that in itself is like a life force, we should be wary of the kinds of tools we need. We want to capture reality as much as possible. So if with the UI stuff, I will mostly be consuming JSON. So if tomorrow there's a new framework or something, then we can easily just repaint the UI, right? In that using that dialectic or that practice that they're using at the moment. But most important actually to me, especially with Angular and React, is that it gives me the ability to extend HTML. Like HTML, if I want a tag that is called ID card, HTML wouldn't give me that, right? Now, WordPress, for example, has its new editor that is actually trying to catch up with what Angular and React are doing. Its Gutenberg editor gives you the ability to create elements, but when you read it, you see that, or when you try it, you see that they're just talking about components. So so now they're going that trend, but it still has the old model of reloading a page for each request. You see, so why do that when you can just use like the modern tools that we have that are very easy, and mostly development now is about, it's like you have a buffet of tools in the cloud. You just pick the one that matters. So I see that developers like back home, they're still thinking of the old way where you have a table, you put it, you have to look for means to pull it. Just the normal PHP kind of programming, right? They're not really used to the cloud where you could just pick this service, pick that service, and compose them into like an application or a reality or an experience for the user.
Yeah. Well, it's a good. That means there's opportunity for training.
Exactly, that's what we're saying. That's what I'm saying. That
Yeah,
it's
it's
also
opportunity
something
for
that when
training.
we come together as a community, that was what I meant, DJ. When I said that, it's like how people in a village can come and build a temple, right? By the
Yeah,
time they're done
yeah,
with that temple, they'll have skills to be able to build temples for other villages. That's what I meant. So by the time we
yeah,
come together and use the best tools, speaking best tools, to do those, then as we would have a community that almost like a guild of people that can actually use these modern tools, and I hope that
yeah,
works. Yeah, so that's that.
yeah. I mean, from this experience, you will know. I've worked with a few people home. Yeah, the there's a lot of training to be done. Not just training for just the technologies to use, but also training in terms of code hygiene.
Yeah,
Yeah, just engineering practices.
yeah, yeah,
Many, there are many things that could be done. But
yeah.
yeah, I think
And
um,
also, right, DJ, in terms of training, the data structures, all data, when we in school, we taught data structures like linked lists, uh, trees,
yeah,
but we're not taught streams, and people were not really taught design patterns. You see,
yeah,
yeah, so those are things that can really ease the way you do things. And at the core of things like streams is what they call lazy evaluation. So now you
yeah,
just mentioned a bit of it when you spoke about now you want an app to get just the smallest chunk it needs to render some UI from the server. So you want to
yeah.
load things lazily as you need them. You see, so you
Mm-hmm.
have these data structures like streams, observables in Angular, and sorry, in TypeScript, or the whole
Yeah,
RxJS thing that
yeah,
can gives you the ability to even talk metaphysically. Like if I think of a stream, upstream, downstream, me tapping into the stream and changing things, you see that it gives me some kind of a way to code very sophisticated apps. And that's again to emphasize your point, that's a chance for us to learn. But if you have people that don't even want to open their minds to these things, they just think you're doing it wrong. If you're like
yeah.
going this way with Angular, or that you're doing it wrong, they don't see the beauty and what is there to absorb in such techniques.
But that is the thing about training. When you receive formal training, you think that this is the way to do it, and most people have been trained like that. So um, ah, it will come with time. Only when you get the final product, you will.
Yeah,
There, I mean, people will realize.
yeah. And
Yeah.
I've learned one thing too. It looks like we and before I say that, I was about to say like we Cameroonians. Some of us might be pissed off when we say that because like you say, oh, Cameroonians are like this, Cameroonians are like that. That happens in all communities. Like then,
Yes.
as a Muslim, I sit in the mosque and I hear people say that, oh, when someone is driving and they stop for a pedestrian to cross the street, it's never a Muslim. We Muslims are like that. We don't obey, but somebody walking will be like, "Oh, Muslims are very nice." So it's like every household we have this problem. So when we say
Yeah.
Cameroonians are like this, they're like that. It's not really to ridicule us, but to try to show us like some path that we can follow. So and now
Yes.
that I've put that disclaimer out there, I can say that. So now that I've put that disclaimer out there, I can say that I have noticed that we are afraid to fail. Like people want to be too perfect, so much so that when you tell them something that is wrong, they get pissed off. And that's what's happening in
Mm,
music, in videos. Like if you tell someone, "Oh, you could make this better," we have very good taste, but that also makes us feel that when someone says there is an issue here, it means that it's wrong. Like if you look at the first Google page, the first page Google made, it was one ugly box that was just there, and then they knew that they would make it better. So I hope
yeah.
that we as Cameroonians can have that mindset to
It's
not be
okay to fail.
perfectionists. Yes, it's okay to
And
fail. It's okay.
it's
Yeah.
okay to not to release something that is perfect and
Yes.
then improve it with time.
Exactly. And that's why we've launched this thing. That's two or three things are working now. You got, but people should join. People are just coming to complain. This is not working. Blah 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 blah. Blah 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 blah. You people are slow. Then they ask them to come and make it faster. They don't want to come and make it faster.
It's always like that. It's always like that. But that's also another reason why I've decided that if I have to build a product home, I will not build, at least not now, I will not build a customer facing product.
Uh-huh.
I will not.
Um,
Because the pressure is just like people will just complain way too much, and they don't. And to be honest, they don't pay you to do this. I'm like,
yeah.
no, I'm never going to
That's
build
what
a
they
product
forget.
that's
We have
customer.
servers online that are running. These Firebase instances are running. People don't calculate that they're
People
seeing
don't
the website
calculate
up.
that.
They don't think that way too. Why? How did this thing get here?
No, people don't
They
calculate
don't
that.
think of
I
that.
said, yeah, I said I will not build anything that's customer facing. If it's business to business, no problem. I'm happy to do that because the business will understand the value of the product that you're giving them
Yeah.
based on how much time or like all this. I mean, based on how much it brings to them. I'm happy to do that. But
Yeah.
if it's customer facing and I release them, nah, I'm not doing that.
Well, yeah.
Unless I'm well off and I have time to kill.
Oh, you're feeling like
No
Father
problem.
Christmas at that
I
time,
feel
then.
like yes, yes. Because now, man, it's
Yeah.
building a customer facing product is it's annoying.
It
It's
is.
annoying.
It is,
I mean,
especially.
and then also these days,
Mhm.
most people, because you have customer facing product like Facebook, Instagram, WhatsApp, Snapchat, Twitter, people will unconsciously or straight away they will compare you with those products.
Yeah. Yeah.
But they fail to realize that if you release something new, it's never going to be like those products.
Mhm.
And then, yeah, people, I mean,
Like,
those big players have they just spoiled the whole thing. So
but well,
I'm not, I
well,
don't want to build a
DJ,
customer
you remember
facing
your
product.
physics? You remember your physics, right? You know that
Yeah.
this is not the first time this thing is happening. And if you want it, let's trace it and break it down.
Yeah.
Uh, in the 19, I think it's 1969, when Ken
Mm-hmm.
Thompson, Dennis Ritchie, when they released C and Unix and eventually C, they
Mm-hmm.
created an operating system that captured almost everything, right? Like time sharing system where we could connect. So they took what was a supercomputer and put it in a small box,
Yeah.
but it had the ability to connect with others. So then you
Yeah.
could talk, you could send mail to each other. So now you as a systems person would say that they have solved all the problems. What shall we do? And that's what even caused this mathematician, the Uni Bomber, if you've heard of him.
Mm-hmm.
He was
No.
actually he's a mathematician. Wow, man, check it out, the Uni Bomber. So he used to mail bombs to people. It was terrorists. He used to mail bombs. Very smart guy. And the reason is
Uh-huh.
because for research, low-hanging fruits are easily plucked out. Like in terms of applications, all the simple applications like blogging, Twitter, Facebook. These are very simple apps. Those are low-hanging fruits. People have already plucked them. So the engineers of tomorrow will have to build things like AI because I've already solved the very simple things. So he was
Yeah.
pissed that in research, in mathematics and science, they've already plucked all the low hanging fruit. So he wanted to reset it. So he was bombing places so that we'll come back to ground zero and then people can start solving problems again. You see.
Yeah.
So yeah, so there's a tendency for that to happen, but in case of Unix, people were thinking that all of those have been solved. But watch this, and this is what I'm trying to say. Google is one application on the operating system. Search. That's it. Google search.
Mm-hmm.
You could see it as grep command. So you see now that engineers thought it wise to go into that operating system, take one simple command, create an industry around it. Search. You see what I mean? Search and sorting. Grep will do those things
Yes.
for you. Now chat. You see that talk that was on that Unix, that was a simple command. People have created an
Yeah.
industry around
An
it.
industry around it.
All these
Yeah.
things that were on Facebook and Twitter, we think that is new, is very old. IRC channels were existing back in the day that those hackers used to use, like those old
We used to
developers.
use these clients. What was the name of the RSC client I was using?
Me too, I forget.
I was using one like that back in the days.
When in UB, I also tried using those things when I was in UB.
Yes,
Those
yes,
yeah.
yes. Yes, yeah.
So Twitter, Facebook, all of these things existed. But now you see that industries have taken them and repainted them in other ways. So I'm just trying to enforce the point that you're making, that yes, these applications, people like to compare with this and they think that maybe there's nothing new to come. But we can
Yeah.
always take it and craft a new experience around it. And then we have a whole new ecosystem to deal with and solve a
But that
problem.
is the particularity of of Cameroon, but Africa as a large, is to jump steps. For example, with phones, not everyone has had a landline phone, but today everyone has a mobile phone.
Oh, yeah, yeah, I see, I
With
see.
the same thing will happen with electricity. Not everyone will have been connected to the electrical grid, but
Yeah.
maybe everyone will have a solar panel on their roof.
They just jump to solar.
Exactly. Same
Yeah.
for the phone. Like not everyone will have used post. Like not everyone will have a post machine where your
Yeah.
letter will come,
Oh,
but everyone
facts.
will have the internet. So
Yeah.
we are jumping stages without actually realizing the sources or where things actually come from.
Okay.
So, and most people don't have that education. So when something comes out, they're like, I want to compare it with Facebook. I want to compare it with
They
Snapchat.
don't know that there's a big word out there. There's a very big word out
So
there with things, and there's a tendency to for people to think that if they don't know something, then that thing is not known. They think that life ends at Facebook. Like if people on Facebook don't know something, then they think that that thing is not known. Forgetting
yeah,
that there's a whole big world out there, and I hope that we shouldn't jump steps in terms of internet communities, because if you look like the US, you had, if have you heard of like Dig? Dig, it was by this guy called Kevin Rose.
hmm
Like all
hmm
of these forums that we have that are emerging today, those things were existing back in the day when the internet emerged. Like in the US, they were already having those, so they have evolved until they can really use Twitter because they have that whole history on the back. But like you're saying,
yes,
since we're skipping steps, we don't even know some of this culture, so we can just be depending on Facebook, forgetting that we have skipped many things. So you can, someone can be concluding, they can be on Facebook and be crafting their whole reality around Facebook, forgetting that the world is big. Facebook is a very small thing, and some
yeah,
people think like even in terms of tech that Facebook is really big. Like, well, even if it's big, it's because of
it's
the other
big.
things it's acquired, right? But they
Yeah,
don't see those, like the virtual reality aspect of it, the Oculus Rift. That's almost pretty much the future. But those things were apart, and then Facebook is just integrating them. You see, so there's so many other trends that are going on that if you just cling to Facebook, you wouldn't see it. You think that there's a world, the cryptocurrency is there. There's just so many other things that are happening, machine
yeah.
learning and things like that.
In terms of technology, there's one guy who wrote something on the page. I just went there.
Oh
Tino
yeah,
Foy. He
yeah,
said
Tino, yeah,
technology
Tino,
drives change
yeah,
faster than anything else. Yeah, it's true. It's true. So in terms of technology, um, but I'll just make sure that we understand that it's not just technology like that. Technology has to match your environment.
yeah,
Technology, just like what you're doing with AYC, like because you realize that Facebook does not give you I'll say the feature or the feel that you want to give to that. So you want to build it yourself
yeah,
so that you can put that feel and those features yourself,
yeah,
and it matches the people who are in there,
yeah,
and it matches the people that you are targeting. So the people that will be interested in that. So like technology has to be really it has to really match the people that are using it.
yeah,
Same thing, for example, you say Google, for example. I don't think Google will work well back home, like search,
yeah,
that kind of search
yeah.
engine.
Uh-huh.
So it's important to have our own Google. So something like, I don't know, Fala, I don't know, Fala, this is what you say, Fala.com or something.
Oh, is
So
that
if
one? Is that one already?
no, I don't think there's one.
Okay, you're just saying Fala.
I'm
So
just
anyone
making
hearing out the DJs consider him to be like a prophet, and he said we need Fala, and then people start building
but it has to be different. So it has to show how people actually search.
You're right.
How do people search? Do they search with keyboard, with keywords? Do they search with just saying, or would you need to help them with what they're searching for?
Yeah.
You have to find out how people search and then implement that.
Mm-hmm.
There's a reason why back in the days when they implemented Google, they decided, okay, it's just going to be one box and people
Yeah,
can
box.
type what they want, they're looking for.
You're right.
But in our case, for example, if someone is looking for a restaurant, is they actually going to look for the restaurant, or are they going to look for the food they want to eat?
Yeah, and is the restaurant different from his address? And when you start asking questions like that, you say, "Man, how do I structure this thing? What is this? Is the
So then you
restaurant
will
the same as
realize,
his address?"
yeah, how do I structure a
Yeah,
search engine that matches the environment
yeah,
of of Cameroon, for example?
yeah,
So it has to really meet the requirements of the environment,
yeah. I mean,
and
from a
then
utilitarian
that
point
kind
of
of
view,
technology works.
yeah. I mean, from a utilitarian point of view, utility is from your reality. So if it actually doesn't capture your reality, then what user experience does it capture, and how much does it like capture your own experience? And also talking about sites, you see that sites like Reddit, I don't know of the current, but I think drives more internet, more traffic than Facebook. And a
Yeah,
lot of people, yeah,
Reddit, yes,
people don't know that.
I
So
think
that's what
so.
I'm
Yeah,
trying to
yeah,
say, that if someone is on Facebook and they think that when you don't know something, especially on Facebook, people on Facebook are not saying it means it's not known. Like
yeah,
there's Reddit that people find value in it. And there are also, technologically speaking, there are other things that really capture like realities that are beyond Facebook. You see,
yeah,
and also at work, let me also say this. At work, for example, Microsoft has already captured social tools that the job sites use, like Yammer, right? Like a
yeah,
Yammer is the
Yama,
same like
yeah,
Facebook, but it's for work. So now
yeah,
there's a whole majority of people that don't even use Facebook. So there's a whole reality that is missing out of it. If you're at
yeah,
work and you're on YouTube, your boss can pass and even tap you on the shoulder. But if they see you on Facebook, they'll start thinking twice. If you can, they don't believe that you can follow a tutorial on Facebook.
yeah.
You see what I mean? So a lot of things are excluded out of it. You see, in terms of like impressions that people have about it.
Oh, what do you think about what they did what they proposed in Nigeria? That people should pay to use social media. I'm not sure exactly what it was, but they're saying that they put a bill
Hmm.
in the Senate or the Parliament or something like that,
I don't know.
and
Give me more
and they
detail.
said and they wanted to make using social media like you have to pay to use social media, something like that.
I
I'm
don't
not
know
sure
what
exactly. I
I'd
saw it
heard.
somewhere on my news.
I don't know, but what I'd heard when we had, I can ask Isaac. Like we can ask Isaac. I don't know if he's
Yeah,
asleep. Yeah, I'll probably ask him tomorrow if I remember. Remind me. Like
yeah,
when we hosted Shehu Sani, who was a senator, he told us there was this bill that I put where they can charge you thousands of dollars if you miss like insult the government, the social media, and something like that. You see,
yeah,
so he was even advising people that if you're a young person and you want to like be an activist, join other organizations, human rights organizations that can support you when you are in trouble. And see like in Cameroon, you hear that this journalist is missing, but that's where it will end. People will just rant on Facebook, and it ends there. The, Perhaps that person was not part of like some human rights organization, so that organization would not even notice that he's missing. You
yeah,
see, so they can't act. So what I'm
yeah,
just trying to tell you that from that conversation, he was trying to say that, so if the government can say that, if you say something that they think is wrong, they will tax you. Maybe it's $10,000 or something. Before you know it, they can lock you up because you haven't paid. And before you know it,
yeah,
you can disappear. You see, so
yeah.
that's just to show you that that was what I heard about, like in terms of a bill.
What do you think about that?
Uh, DJ man, it's what I think about it from a it's very confusing because when I think in terms of theory, that's philosophically, you see that that's how tyranny actually it happens right in front of our faces, but we may not see it. So that limits freedom of speech. Is the same like when you see people in the religious spheres when they start questioning God and then other people are getting angry. I think it's unnecessary because if there is a God, God is so big and God is represents truth so much so that no matter how you look at it, you will still see the truth. So there's no need for someone to be restricting you from looking at it or from asking
Yeah,
questions. So the
yeah,
same with the government. If people are saying things that are true, why try to stifle that? what happened to freedom of speech? It's only through that people can progress. So from that point of view, speaking like this one is just book. Like I was saying that is just book. Reality is different. From that, when I think that way, I feel like no, we need freedom of speech. So when it comes to practicality, I'm not really a politician, but I would wish that we have a society where people can speak, and also on in the terms of the people that speak, I think we should be educated enough, and I don't mean going to school. Our parents teach us to be truthful. So if we're educated enough, we can always say the things that will not cause us to be, or even if the government locks us up because of spoken it, that should actually spark revolutions because they're actually too true. So that's what I think about that.
I mean, for me, it just shows me that our governments are trying to have a better control on social media, because social media is getting out of hand, and cyber security, cyber criminal, is it criminality?
All of those, everything that happens cyberspace,
there's now way too many cyber criminals that the government is trying. All governments are trying to find how they are going to control that, and this shows that they have no other options than finding people. That's what I see.
How does that solve it? How does that solve the problem?
That's the solution that they found, and it's clearly a solution that shows that they don't have any technological background. It's only a bunch of politicians trying to look for a solution. Because if someone had a technological background, they will not come up with that kind of solution, because this will be viewed, because the fundamental of this kind of platforms is to give people a voice, is to allow people to speak however they want. But first of all, if you pick that kind of solution, we can clearly see that you've been defeated by the technology straight away. You should find ways to regulate the technology rather than finding people who are speaking on technology, because you cannot stop someone from speaking. Stop someone from speaking. So I think that is the main problem. Most governments don't know how to regulate internet communication. So, and this is going to be just an increasing problem with time. With time, it's just going to increase, because as we allow people to have better internet, we are also allowing them to access more social media platform. We're also allowing them to say whatever they want. We're also allowing them to just speak their mind anyhow. And it's hard to. So what if one day you have 1 million people who speak bad about the government? Are you going to give 1 million fines?
And that's just how it will blow up in your face, because me who is collecting the money, how far you should have collected in the first place. And then secondly,
how are you going to identify those people? How will you go and collect the money?
Exactly. And then things
Facebook is not even yours. Have you signed an agreement with Facebook to censor all that? I mean, it just shows that they have been defeated by the technology for me.
But it could be a scheme. Let's look at it from another point of view, because then you hear that they will create a special force to do things like that, and then you have a committee on top of a committee that oversees all the committees that are involved in that thing, and that's how state budget is just going into things like that. You see what I mean? So it's
So I can just sign up on, I don't know, Facebook or whatever, put a fake name, put fake stuff on it, and then just start blasting about the government and all these things. But in Cameroon, man, people insult the government so much. The government doesn't even care anymore. Well, you see how many rumors of the president that have been out there. Or you go on YouTube, if you type that, it's everywhere. How many people? I think back home, the freedom of speech is actually massive. People just talk.
You think so?
I think so. To be honest, I
don't think so.
I
can share my experience. I can share my experience. So when I tried to do this stop tanking beer thing, I reached out to people personally, and I had my reasons. So I reached out to people, so that I'll make an argument for this one day, and this is part of it. I'll reach out to
Yeah.
people and explain the concept for them to thank the president. They say no, they're afraid. Either this one will say I'm a government person, or this I'm afraid, or my father's sponsoring me, so this that. So and that's fine. I respect that. So I'm like,
Yeah.
okay. So I'm telling you to thank the president. You're afraid. Then I show you the other side that is a double-edged sword. Okay, stop thanking him. Then you're still afraid. So it means
Yeah.
that afraid they can't speak to the president. So that freedom of speech is not there. So that's what
In
I
the
found out in my little experiment that I did.
Give me a sec.
Yeah, take your time.
I'm just gonna respond to a message to my work. So in the case of Cameroon, it's a bit more complex.
People are afraid, DJ. Like you see people on Facebook, those that are artists that sometimes they come and claim as though they're saying something, and I'll reach out to them and be like, man, what do you think about this? And they'll say, oh, they want to focus on their art. They don't want to be political. Then the next day I see them trying to make it political. So I'm just confused. I'm like, what is this? Like, so there's a lot of confusion. People are afraid, DJ. They think that okay, if you're an artist, you use your voice, you'll be locked up. You see what I mean? Or you'll be beaten up, and that's the reality they face. So, if that's the case, it means there's no other conclusion for me. People are afraid of the president. He's been there for 38 years, and people are so afraid of him that they can't tell him that, man, what have you done all these 38 years and things like that. They're afraid.
I don't think people are afraid. This is my take on it. I might be
Yeah.
wrong, but let me tell
I
you what I
mean,
think.
yeah, that's fine.
First of all, I don't think people are afraid, but what I think is so I don't think people are afraid because if people were afraid, um, newspapers wouldn't be insulting. Like Populi, for example, is always insulting the president. There's so many.
Okay. I see.
There is so many.
I see what you mean. But DJ, you know that I'm talking about as social graphs, right? Like when I go, I see an artist or these people who call themselves artists today. Let's say, which name will I call without getting into trouble? You see, just like how me, I'm thinking twice to call someone's name. I should
So
be able to just say,
I will answer to you. It's just that this guy. I just need to answer.
yeah, take your time, take your time.
Yeah. So I don't think people are afraid. That's the first thing. I don't. But if it's about artists, I think artists have been trained or have been. I think artists have been trained not to be involved politically. Why? Because once you start being involved politically, or once you become engaged, you might end up dividing your crowd into two.
Okay.
So once you divide your crowd into two, you will not, your art will not impact as many people as you wish. Because if you go out there and you say stop thinking Bia, for example, and you say it publicly, you have some people who are supporting him, but they might understand that this might be satirical or this is sarcasm that you're bringing out there.
Right.
And they'll be like, oh, we don't want to support you anymore.
Yeah, I see.
You see what I mean? So for an artist, even if I was an artist, I would try to be as apolitic. I don't know if that's the right word. I don't know if that's the right
apolitical.
word.
Yeah.
As apolitic as possible, so that I know I can keep my political views to myself. I can talk about the struggles of the people without blaming any political party. That's fine.
Yeah, that works.
But at least I know all my fans, whether they support this one or they support this one, they can still meet together and enjoy.
That makes a lot of sense, DJ, when you paint
That's
it like
that. That's the art part of it. Now, for the common Cameroonian, it's a bit more complex.
It is.
The common Cameroonian has fear in their DNA.
Okay.
Fear for repressions, fear for being beaten, fear for the police, fear for what they have achieved so far, and they don't want to spoil it. So they are happy to stay in the statu quo or happy with what we have now with the hope that slowly and slowly things will get better.
Yeah.
Why am I saying that? I'm saying that because if you come to me and you say that, let's start to put all this stop thinking beer or whatever, think beer or whatever. For me, whether I say it or not, it doesn't impact me. It doesn't change anything. It's just talking on social media. It might bring a huge hashtag and the hashtag will blow, but I believe that most Cameroonians have this sense of being like, oh, it's politics. It doesn't bring anything to me. I don't care about it, which is fueled by fear that is straight in our DNA because of all the repressions that we have lived already. So we have gone through
And
that mighty
that's my
repression that our
conclusion.
parents told us about. We have gone through recently in 2008 when there were repressions.
Yeah.
We've gone through the SDF repressions.
Yeah.
We've gone through all of these repressions. So we don't want any repressions anymore. We don't want that anymore.
That's my
So
conclusion. That's why people are afraid, DJ. And right
yeah, for the
and
common Cameroonian,
uh-huh.
yeah, and that's why also with time we have forced or conditions our artists not to be politically minded.
Great.
And if an artist becomes politically minded, automatically the Cameroon public will be like, why are you going into politics? You shouldn't go into politics. Just leave politics to politicians.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's
I
what
see what you
most
mean.
people
Well,
that's just
yeah.
our identity. That's how we are. And I think the government understands that. People know that. That's just how we are. You know, in the time of Aijo, I've heard reports that the Aijo government was so repressive that you couldn't even speak bad about the government.
Flog you. Even Yaoundé, you can be in a bar and speak like some kind of things. It's there. It's always been there.
These are just
And
rumors. These are just rumors
DJ,
that have been
that
that
one
have
is not rumor
continued
for
from.
me. I've been in a bar, they were running a mouth, and then just the people are looking at us who advise that, my friend, either you run out of here, or yeah, so you know that things are red. And but that aside, that's because when you are like in Kumba or Boya, you're far from the capital, right? So but when you go to the capital, the air is different. So, but that aside, right, DJ, my experiment, I was asking people, what do you think about this? I understand all what you've said, and
Yeah,
when I wrote this, I had a passion for it for reasons that I think I told you. Like you hold a little kid, and I have to visit my village, and I cannot visit my village. I cannot go have my kid run through the streets that I ran through when I was a kid. How it
yeah,
means that has been robbed from me. Like you have taken away something from me that is a treasure box, right? I can't
yeah,
give. It's like, let's say a parent, when I was a kid, my dad took me to the field and we had to catch grasshoppers because he did that. You see, he did that, so he took me to show me that experience, and I enjoyed it. So, what if I want to take my own kid to some river or waterfall that I went to when I was little, as him? I can't do that now. I
yeah,
have you have family, I have villages that I knew that are burned down today, or that
yeah.
people that are deserted. Like I even had my dad kidnapped. Can you imagine things like that? So when I see those and I'm looking for a solution, I write something and then I ask people, what do you think about it? I'm not saying go and write this and post this. I'm not saying that. I'm asking you, what do you think? And I read what
Uh-huh.
they say. First, either they don't read in between the lines, they think I'm telling them to do something, whereas I ask them, what do you think about this? So there I'm already seeing the fear. You see,
Yeah,
so it's a whole process. I went through the thing and I realized that people are afraid, DJ. Like, and then people are very confused because you would have those that come to the public and then put out this persona like of strength of like wanting change. But when you see that and buy that persona and then you hit them up that, hey, how about this, what do you think about this, then you see it's like a little kid that that maybe when I smoked something I was inspired and after the inspiration just vamoose like smoke, you see. So that
yeah,
was my experience. And it's sometimes it's I don't know. But and also if you look at the vast sea of experiences that we have, where
uh-huh.
you have some a body called the government, they come and promise you a hospital, and then you thank them, like you deserve it. It's not like it's not like you someone is gifting it to you. It's not a gift. You deserve it. So when I look at all of those, and then the people that think that's wrong, but if you want to ask them what they think about that, and they can't even voice that, then what will happen to us in 30 years? What happened to us in 40 years and things like that.
I don't think that is a massive problem, because
Okay.
the reason why I don't think it's a massive problem is because um, I think I'm one of those people who think that things change from bottom to the top.
Okay.
I don't think you can bring any massive change from the top to the bottom just like that. I think it would take much longer if it's from the top to the bottom. I really think that things change from the bottom to the top. Why? Because um, in the case of our countries and systems, they have been they are so complex and influenced by so many things that we don't control, that any person that is at the top is always limited. But I mean, their actions will always be limited. So the people really have the power to to trigger change, just like what you are doing now with AYC. No one asked
And
you
with
to do
Tino.
it.
And it's Tino
Yeah,
that put the comment
exactly.
there. And the comment you saw. Yeah, that's
Ah,
Tino.
yeah, the technology.
He's
Yeah.
actually
Oh, cool.
conceived. I'm just typing. I'm like the clerk. I just type put login, things like that. So yeah.
Yeah. So I don't think things can change. This is just my opinion,
Yeah, I
and
see.
I think things should come from the bottom to the top, and then and that's I think that's the best and most sustainable way to change. Because if things come from the top, let's say you have a president that come today and they want to trigger change and they want to just put that energy for change, the next minute you will hear people saying that, oh, you can only be there for 7 years. Can you do a sustainable change in 7 years? No, you can't.
Yes, you can.
So,
You can plant the seeds.
well, even if you plant the seed, you're never sure that the person who will come after you will have the same vision as you and continue that.
That's how tyrants think. Like now I'm just being idealistic, like how you're being. Like if you cannot trust that in a country of 25 million people you're not the only one that can change it, then you will not want to leave. Like I
No,
mean, man, then you have,
what I'm
yeah.
saying is there is always a probability that the next person who is going to come will not see things like the you see. This is
out
100% sure.
and out of 25 million people, I'm not saying that this is not sure. I'm just
Yeah,
saying that it's that fear that will make someone want to change the constitution and not leave, because you are
exactly.
convinced that there's no one that can follow in the footsteps if in service of the truth. If we are doing something most objectively that has the this country in like Cameroon, peace work fatherland, if you are instituting things that you know that they're in line with peace work fatherland, why should you be worried that out of the millions of people, if we have 20 something million people, maybe there
Because
wouldn't be one person that would want to make the country progress like that? I mean, think about it.
these are just words. It's utopic. It's
Okay.
impossible. Practically, it's impossible. Say, for example, a company like Apple. When Steve Jobs left, sadly, when he left and when he appointed
Tim Cook. Tim
Tim
Cook.
Cook,
Yeah.
you saw a lot of people said Apple is not innovating anymore. Even till today, people are saying Apple is not innovating anymore. People are saying that Apple is not good anymore.
They
It's
made more
see,
money
it's obvious, but Apple is more valuable.
than
Apple
Winston was there.
has invented AirPods. Last time they created the M1, which is, I don't know, a game changer in the computer industry. So so people will always have that view that things will never be the same. And it's true. Apple
Yeah,
has
that's it.
changed. Things are not the same anymore. But is it really? I mean, so if you look at things now in the scheme of a country, it's not going to be the same.
But DJ,
So
I think there are many things
from
you're
the
leaving out.
top,
There are
from
many
the
things you're
top,
leaving out, right? Uh,
like what?
uh, I like to go back to church. Let me go back to church, right? You
You
have
know,
a
I'm not a church person, but yeah, tell
Yeah,
me.
me too. I'm not really a church person, technically speaking, but
Yeah.
there is a comment from Loretta. Let me read it before I continue. So Loretta says, "Well, you can do a sustainable change for 7 years. It's possible, even if it's not a long time. Even if it's not a long time, once the people see the change, they will keep you." Okay, great.
I
Now
don't think any sustainable change can happen in 7 years.
the seeds. You
That's
can
my
plant the
personal view.
seeds.
You can plant the seed, but I don't think any sustainable change can happen especially
But then there are
in a
two terms of
government.
7 years. 2 terms of 7 years is fine. Like DJ, I saw like the Obama roll out healthcare, like the years that it sparked many industries. Although when Trump came, he started repealing some of those, but there are some changes that were put in place during Obama's time that go back to the
Hmm.
Constitution that express values such as freedom to achieve your own perfection. I'll give you an example. Like there are bills normally in the United States. If you're like a convict, you've gone to prison, you couldn't
Hmm.
go to you couldn't get loans to start a business, you couldn't get financial aid to go to school. So a lot of blacks now will not have been able to go to school or start businesses. Although you hear the media say, "Oh, these were degenerates," that the system itself prevents them, and this then some who have looked at it, they say that's systemic racism, right? But now in
Yeah.
Obama's time, he was implement signing these laws that would like release people. Although people did not see that, it's not in the media. Like there was time when community colleges were almost free. And there's also something, you can't live in public housing if you're a convict. So you have many black fathers who can't even live in the same houses with their kids because they've been to prison maybe for tailgating, or stealing, shoplifting, weed, things
Hmm.
like that, right? Your whole life is ended. You see, but now
Yeah.
there are laws that are signed that are backed by things like freedom for you to educate yourself. So, which means if I am the president and I sign those laws, the next president, I planted the seed. So the next president can continue in service of the truth, of freedom, of education. You see, so but if I start thinking that I'm the only one that can do that, I want to be there for 40 years out of a country like the United States with 300 million people or someone which will understand what the Constitution means. You see what
Okay.
I mean?
Okay. In the context of the United States,
Yeah.
most systems are in place. So the economy is
Mm.
stable. So the economy is in place. The political institutions are in place. So
Okay.
the institutions are stable.
Yeah.
And they have been built for, I don't know, 100 years.
400.
So any person
400.
for
400.
400 years,
Yeah.
yes, okay, yeah. So any person that comes into place will never change those institutions. They are continuing what the forefathers have done.
They
So in the
do change it,
context of
did
the
you?
United States,
Yeah.
it's possible.
Okay, I see.
Now, remember, we were talking about the context of our country, Cameroon.
Uh-huh.
The reason why I'm saying it's not possible is because, first of all, if you want to bring change from the top, you need the right institutions to do that.
Yeah. True.
You will have to build those institutions.
Yeah.
Only to build a building will take about 5 years.
Mm-hmm.
This is just about the infrastructure part of it.
Mm-hmm.
Now, to bring any policy to completion, let's say you want to bring your energy policy to completion, building just one dam is like 5 years. Implementing a sustainable energy policy will take you about 10 years minimum.
Okay.
Implementing a sustainable education policy where you want to reform the educational system and make sure your people learn the right thing to be able to contribute later in the society will take you about 10 years as well.
Okay.
At least minimum. So implementing the right institutions that will trigger those changes will take you at least 10 years. This is without even counting the time you will take to remove the people who are reluctant to your changes, because there will always be people who are reluctant to your changes. So in the grand scheme of a country's life,
Yeah.
7 years is way too small.
I don't think so.
It's very, very small.
I don't
Now,
think
if you're a
so.
visionary and you're thinking long term,
Yeah.
then you will say, okay, for the first 7 years, we'll let's say plant the seed, implement all these big vision,
Yeah.
at least start with the reform of the education system. Make sure, okay, within those 7 years, you convince the majority of people, or you build your army. When I say army, I don't just mean for defense, but the people who will really
Yeah. Right.
connect
I
with
see.
your vision and
Yeah.
all these
It's a
things.
whole
Okay, you can
network.
say
Yeah.
that you can, for the first 7 years, you can plant that seed, and then the next 7 years, you can say, okay, let's start to realize those things and say, okay, let's put in place the educational
Yeah.
policies.
I
Let's
see.
put those reforms into place. But in the grand scheme of things, I think practically
Yeah.
7 years is way too small.
I don't think so. Because thanks for painting that beautiful picture of like how hard it can be. That's again because you're looking at the individual. So if you look at the country, right,
Mm-hmm.
and it's great we're having this conversation because it can help us see what is there and maybe where we can be. So you in terms of planting seeds, it could be the
Yeah.
mission or the main objective of a political party. So even you, as the president that leaves after 7 years, if your ideas, that's why I said in service of the truth, if the ideas are erected on top of some fundamental values, then the party itself can continue chasing that for 400 years. So that's how the next people that come, because if you step down as president, it doesn't mean you can advise the next president. It doesn't mean you can be on the board of some project. It doesn't mean you can be a legislator. It doesn't mean you can help draft other things that can help the country. So
Your power is reduced, and on top of that, you will always have people who will not want you anymore.
okay, that
I'm just
that's
talking
not
from a
it.
practical point of view.
True,
Me,
true, true.
you know me, I'm actually, I just want to be practical. I
Yes,
don't
yes.
want to just use
I
words like
I
that.
also want
And
to be
then on top
practical.
of
Yeah.
that,
Uh-huh. Sorry,
on
continue.
top of that, I mean, like, on top of that, you have so many, how can I put that? That's why I said in the beginning, that's
Yeah.
why I especially said in the beginning, sustainable change for me
Yeah.
has to come from the bottom.
Okay.
Because from the top, there's way too many issues, there's way too many clashes. Democracy will come their way, and then people will say, no, you've been there for too long, we need to change. People will not be happy with some of the policies that you put. Some people who were eating money before, they'll be like, we're not eating anymore, we'll go against you. From the top, for me, it's very hard. If it comes
I
from the
don't dispute
bottom, it's
that
cool.
fact because I now that I really think of it, I once have something when I used to write like Facebook notes. I had a note where I said like the top sits on the bottom, and I mean even from a software point of view, if we change the alphabet bottom up, if I have a book, I write it using the alphabet. The book is the end product, and that's the top level. And in terms of like the alphabet ABC, if I really want to change that book, I change the alphabet, and then maybe I'll make that book invalid. You see, so yes, I agree that changes will really come from the bottom, right? It can make the whole top void, right? But the thing that I was looking at is the idea that you at the top, if you think that 7 years is small, then I don't really buy that, especially if we have mega structures like political parties. And that's why in companies you have a board of directors and things like that or a trust body that can go on with the purpose, you see. so
How
so
long does it take for a company to go from a startup phase to an actual company?
about last in the past like 2011 it used to be average 7 to 8 years, but now with like cloud computing that you can just piece things together, I think like 3 years. You could have let's say
Okay.
you have companies like Snapchat that just pop out of nowhere, or Oculus Rift that can just pop out like that instead of going through that full 8 years or 7 years of change.
This, well, in the case of Oculus Rift, they were bought by Facebook.
Yeah, so
So,
that's
so they
just the
were able
reality.
to,
So put that
yeah,
in the
yeah.
equation. I added all of this in the equation. That's why I'm saying
Well,
that 3 years now.
yeah.
All
So
it's
if
part
you
of the whole
view,
thing. Yeah.
so if you view a country like a company,
Yeah.
and let's suppose that in a country like Cameroon is a startup, let's
Yeah.
assume that,
Yeah.
yeah. No one will come and buy Cameroon to say that, okay, we'll buy you and give you money so that you can
But most people
grow
are just saying the
you can
country.
grow quickly. You
Yeah,
can
right.
grow at a fast rate, at a very fast rate.
Yeah.
No one will come and, I mean, if someone does that, then they just want to, I mean, no one will accept that you come and buy their country. So we have to go step by step.
Yes. I agree.
And to go step by step, for me, I think the best way is to go from the bottom.
That's fine.
There are so many small things that can be done if you go from the bottom.
DJ, that
Last
one is
time,
fine. That one is fine, right? I'm saying that
yeah, yeah.
7 years, right? Your
You
7 years
think 7
could be the
years?
step. You say let's go step by step, right? I
Yeah,
can use your argument and say that your first 7 years could be the first step towards what the other people will do in their own 7 years. You see, that's
yeah.
what. Yeah. So 7 years, if people must, the president must not think that he needs to be there forever before the country goes ahead. Like the first argument I was giving is if you have 25 million people, you think that out of 25 million people, there's no one person that can do even better? Like, what kind of thinking is that? And then
Well,
secondly,
for
anyway,
so
sorry.
regarding changing the regarding changing governance or presidents, my view on this is quite simple. If things are going well and if someone has a long-term vision, I'm happy for the person to stay. Now, I'm not saying that our government has a long-term vision or whatever. I'm just saying if someone has a long-term vision and we can clearly see that the vision is being executed properly, me, I'm happy with that.
Me
I
too.
think to some extent democracy can slow down development because
Yeah.
you have to take a year to make yourself elected, campaigns and all these things, which will most likely distract you from governing. And then on top of that, if you consider democracy and always consulting everyone to just do one thing,
Yeah.
then you might not be doing things at a fast rate.
Okay.
So let's say, for example, I mean, you can clearly see it in America where you have, because democracy is so advanced, you have one side of people who want lockdown, another side of people who don't want lockdown. Now it's being confusing. No one knows what to do. Well, that's a disadvantage of democracy. Not saying democracy is bad. It's just disadvantage. It's a trade-off.
Yeah. There are many things wrong with democracy. First of all, tyranny emerges from democracy. Yeah, if we really have to talk about that, there are many things. Like, first of all, tyranny emerges from democracy because that's why you have electoral bodies, right? The electoral college that they think they can make informed decisions. That's just to like kind of season the whole thing with some kind of sense. Because normally democracy, people may just vote because of rhetoric. Like if somebody shows up with sardine and stuff, it's all part of his magician's trick. He removes sardine from the magician's hat and gives you, and you vote for him. So yes, democracy is really crazy in certain things, but that aside, speaking about realities, and it's in line with some question that Loretta asked. If we
Yeah,
start
same.
looking at
Yeah,
if we start looking at what is there and perhaps what should be there, then we can always see what we can tweak, you see. And it
yeah,
starts from the mentality, in the sense that if I'm just thinking of me, then what happened to the party? You see, what happened to the party? The party can continue with the mission. And that's why you see Republicans, whether your grandfather was a Republican and then you have Republicans today, they may only change ideas in how much they can be liberal and some other fundamental aspects, like abstractly speaking. You see, but the visions are there. Like Republicans always want the country to boom. They want business, and they believe that the individuals should be the ones, should not be limited by the state, right?
yeah,
Like I should be able to run my own insurance company. The government must not just do everything a socialistic, from a socialistic point of view. You see,
yeah.
so you see that idea runs, and that way you can be changing government over and over. So if now you DJ, you're creating a party called DJ Party, right? And you set down your ideology, you see that those that come to it, just like how honey come, some
Bees comes to
yeah,
honey.
bees come to honey, people will come because of that ideology. And in service of the truth, if there is a plan, and I don't even want to talk about bodies like development bodies like banks, maybe world banks and stuff like that, that have worked with other countries like India. When even they come to work with you, you have a plan of action, and you have experts that will let you know that, okay, hierarchically lay this foundational block and it will help you in 20 years. You see, so there's all of those things that are there that can be used to make really good decisions. That maybe you plant a seed that would will be harvested 100 years later. Like Einstein did things in physics that it's 100 years later that people are actually understanding it. You see, so the same can be done. You plant the seed, go after 7 years or 14 years, you leave. You see, and
Well, I hope. I mean, I really wish that can happen,
okay.
so we can see for ourselves. But from history, I've never seen that happening.
How, what have you never seen happening in history?
From history, I've never seen that happening.
Like people being
Like someone comes into power and plants the seed for 7 years and then goes. I've never seen that happen.
really, you,
Well,
you
give me one example.
Man, I will start talking about the US now, and then we're talking about Africa. Look at the president that was in the time of like Einstein when they did the atomic bombs and things like that. They started some kind of a partnership with universities where they kind of married government. The universities were like the research wings of the government. They started that, approving budgets, giving professors the freedom that politicians did not even like at that time, right?
No, no.
And that
I'm
practice, that's a
for in
seed.
the case of America, yes. I'm saying
You see.
for the case of America, it's possible.
But you say
I'm
you have
not
never
saying I'm
seen the
not
history.
denying it.
Okay, you mean history of Cameroon? Okay, that works.
No, no,
But
not Cameroon. Any country that can be compared to Cameroon that
okay,
doesn't have a solid nation or a solid identity.
okay, yeah, all right, I see.
Yeah,
But
I
I see.
haven't seen that from history. I haven't seen that.
Yeah, all right. But DJ, that's possible, man. And
There
the
have been
fact that
many
it's not
people who
there
have come
does not
into
mean we can do
power
it.
with
Yeah.
the will to change, with the will to change, but because of democracy, they will spend, let's say, 4 years, 5 years, and we all know 5 years is not enough to bring any sustainable development.
Okay, I
So
see.
when they come into power, they are boosted out,
Yeah.
and your plan is gone. There are many examples like that.
But was it at the level of the party? That's what I'm saying. Was it at the level of the
I
party?
think
If the party, you
so.
think that if CPDM has a way of seeing things, right? Like when I was growing up, the normal parlance that I heard about politics is that God the chapter of the tai. So most people want to be mayors or governors or whatever. It's just that they want to enjoy that level of salary that they'll be getting from that. So that's that
Yeah.
ideology of that party, and that's how there's things like that, and then that's the
Oh,
seed.
Loretta said a comment. Wait, let me read her comment.
Yes,
She's
please.
like, well, if you ask me, I think we Cameroonians are not ready for change. Well, as a politician, you don't look at the short term rather than focus on the long term. That's correct. That's why 7 years, I think, is very short. Because if you have something good, take can sustainable development change takes time. The people knows this, so they need change. They will keep you to make change. Okay, yeah, I agree. The people will keep you. And she said, look at Rwanda, Tanzania. Yeah, they're good examples. Um, their countries was reset.
Yeah.
Yeah, Tanzania was completely reset. People are very mad at Magufuli. People are angry at Magufuli, but
Yeah,
yes, he's
I
doing
see.
the job. Their countries was reset, and look at them now. Change should come from both the citizen and government. One part can't do it alone. Yes.
Yeah,
So
very good.
yeah,
Yeah,
the bottom and the top. So yeah, so if the bottom and the top are in sync, that's perfect. Everyone will evolve.
yeah, and
Cameroonians
yeah,
don't even believe in change. That's why Perez doesn't even believe change can happen in 7 years. No, 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 no. I said from the top only, change cannot happen in 7 years.
yeah,
I think change will take a long time, and to plant the seed, 7 years might be good. The problem, she said, Cameroonians don't even believe in change. I don't think Cameroonians don't believe in change. I think Cameroonians believe a lot in change, and they really want things to change. What is missing is identity. We have a huge identity crisis, and we discussed that where I said the government is also conscious of the fact that they have failed to create a unique Cameroonian identity. Because if people are proud and happy to be Cameroonians, they will do whatever it takes to help their own and bring the country and like lead the country and get everyone on the same vision. Look at, for a simple example, a simple way to see that is Indomitable Lion. There
yeah. I
was
was
a
gonna
time
say that.
when
I was gonna say
no
that.
one
Yeah,
was supporting the Indomitable Lion anymore. Today, Cameroonian artists are complaining that the Cameroonian public is not supporting them.
they don't see the original lions that they almost get their tail. But anyway, sorry.
Yeah.
Continue.
So the government is conscious. I mean, I think the government is conscious, but let's be conscious of the fact that the Cameroonian identity has been diluted a lot.
I see. But you know why? Now
So
that I
that's why
think
we
of it,
think that we don't aspire for change. We do aspire for change. Many people want things to evolve. They just don't know how because they don't have that identity anymore,
intimate.
or their
Yeah,
identity has diluted a lot. And I don't know why. I can't explain why this has happened. And the Anglophone crisis is even a bigger example to show that the identity, that one Cameroon that we were fighting for and we understood all together before, we are the last generation that understands that Cameroon. The people after us do not understand it like that.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, DJ. Actually, that's really interesting. But you know that in terms of mentality, right? Yeah, just throw more light to what you've said. It leads to things like patriotism, and then if we really have to look at the root of patriotism, you then see things like duty, right? Like, what do I know that is my duty as a Cameroonian? If I read, that's what will give me the sense of patriotism. My duties to my country, and those duties will transcend language, tribe, and all of those things. So if I know that my existence is as an expression of the duties that I think I'm supposed to embody, then I'll be patriotic. And then if all of us think like that, it'll be like little functions that emerge at the national level as one big country with an identity.
Yeah.
You see, but that is missing. Yeah, that I think is missing, because I am sitting here, I don't even know my duties. I don't even know like the core duties. When I see a little American kid and a sense of patriotism like just shoots directly to the skies, I'm like, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It comes from the identity. I mean, which it's simple. Like, which street will you name that has a Cameroonian name?
Right.
How many streets would you name that have Cameroonian names? How many streets? It's just a simple example, but you don't know.
True, yeah.
How will you fight for a place when
Like
you cannot even identify to it?
Yeah, right. I see. But yeah, and
today you were talking about AYC and how you have energy to work on it because you feel a sense of purpose.
Yeah.
How would you have energy to work for your country when you don't feel that sense of purpose, that sense of belonging? Because I cannot name any street that has the name of a Cameroonian.
In Australia?
No, I mean in Cameroon.
Oh man, we're in Kumba, you have things like Fominki Street. There are many streets. It depends on where you're coming from, man. Like in Kumba, you have Fominki Street. Which other street?
You have that. That's what I'm saying. On smaller, a little bit of us, we have that. We are the last generation to actually to know that. But they should go to Douala, for example. So many places in Douala where this is just a small example, but even the name of the streets, we don't have that.
Yeah, I see what you mean. And for example, right, in Maryland, you have I went to a community college, Montgomery Community College. It's Montgomery was like a general or something. Like Montgomery is rooted in the history of that area, and even in the college, you have a whole monuments there where you can read their history and everything. I see what you mean. Yeah, and that
and then Loretta commented, she's like, most Cameroonians don't have the sense of belonging, patriotism. I agree with that. Patriotism is so diluted. It's really diluted because there's no sense of purpose. Like, okay, what am I fighting for? Recently, there have been a challenge. The challenge is, ce qui me retient au Cameroun, c'est, so like, what is keep making me stay in Cameroon is this. What is this challenge?
Beer.
So someone is saying that ce qui me retient au Cameroun, c'est la bière. Ce qui me retient au Cameroun, c'est ça. Like, you cannot really tell that people don't even belong to it anymore. Not that they don't belong to it anymore, but that sense of patriotism has diluted so much. And you can't build anything sustainable when people don't have that sense. Because today you might ask people to work on something that you feel like is going to change a community.
Yeah.
But the majority of people will be like, I just want to travel. I just want to fall bush. You see, like, people are, and I firmly believe that we are the last generation to really have that sense of patriotism unconditionally.
Yeah, and you know what this was? DJ?
What?
See, like, now in the Southwest, right? Southwest, Northwest. Let's say there are no schools. Which means in 20 years, the kids, the people, the messieurs that will live Northwest and Southwest and travel, they would be at a very low educational level compared to immigrants from other areas. So they would then be doing the jobs like cleaning jobs in the countries that they go to. So you see that that's just a reinstitution of slavery right there. Because after those 20 years, you can just bring a big boat and just carry the people and go put them in a plantation. Because what skill would they have? 20 years, the whole area is just there, no education. It's not to talk bad about Somali. If you go to Canada, I went to Canada. When was that? Last year, November, right? I went to Canada to pick up my car. I learned that there were many Somalians there, right? And
Yeah,
most
there's
of
a
them
huge
you
community
see,
of Somalians there.
yes, when you see the kinds of jobs they do, is very, it's norm at the level, societal level, they'll be like maybe cleaning and things like that. And then if you look at other societies that their education, like I don't know much about India. I know about India, but I'm not saying this like very vastly in a way that there are people that can counter what I'm gonna say. But most of the Indians I've met, they have at least two masters. You see, most of the Indians I've met, they have at least two masters. So when they come, you see someone that is in school, but he's like a technical lead somewhere, the manager somewhere, because of that education. That by the
Yeah,
time he's leaving, he already has that in his backpack, right? So
yeah.
if we now, I'm afraid that if this continues in Cameroon or in the southern Cameroons, without this education, in 20 years you would have people that cannot compete at the international level, and then we will just be reinstituting slavery, so to speak.
Uh, I don't know where this is gonna take us. I don't want. I don't. It's not something I really want to
I
think
know, as I'm
about
saying it, that's what
because
I've thought for you that.
because it's
So
scary.
tell me
Because
whether
it's
it's wrong
scary.
or right.
It's something I don't really want to think about because it's scary. It's very scary.
But you
I
see
don't.
what I
This is
mean,
not.
right? You see what I mean, right? Because imagine,
Yeah, I see what you mean.
yeah, oh, okay, forget about Southwest. Think of Cameroon in general, right? Imagine when you went to Australia, you didn't know the physics that you did, the math that you did, all of the things that helped you get that first job in like software development. Imagine you didn't have
Mm-hmm.
those. You would have been working maybe as a cleaner, you
Mm-hmm.
see. So imagine that in a country, all the people that emerge from it don't have that kind of these kinds of tools, because education gives you a toolbox. If you don't have those tools that you can say that okay, I can take this tool and make a computer like this, then you would be placed at the level that you have the tool for. You should be like to sweep with a broom. You see what I mean? So
Uh, I don't think. Yeah, I think it's education, but in terms of formal education, I think Cameroon does a good job
yes,
in terms
I
of
that's
formal
fine,
education.
DJ. I mean that
Um,
erase that formal education and then see
yeah,
what will happen to the country in 20 years, right?
yeah,
See what
yeah,
will happen to those that emigrate. You see that they will just be like cleaners and cleaning and cleaning. So which means now the education is good. But look at the southwest and northwest regions. That formal
yeah.
education is not there. It's
It's
beginning
not
to
there anymore.
erode away. So what will happen if
Yeah.
that continues for 20 years? That's what I'm trying to say. So just so we can look ahead and then try to fix it as soon as possible before
The Yeah, education. The
yeah.
people who are the most affected by the crisis are kids who, let's say, if it's been, I mean, it's been like that for 4 years. So that means people who were kids who were, let's say, four today, they are now four
Eight,
when it started, they are now eight.
eight, yeah.
So at 8 years old, normally you should be
No
almost
geography,
completing primary
yeah,
school.
geography, history, things like that. Now they
Yeah.
don't know that.
So
Maybe they
you've
don't know
lost
how to
four
read.
years of education, and these are the people who will suffer the most
Yeah.
from this whole problem.
So scale
That
it 20
that's
years.
clear.
Scale it 20 years.
And
So that you
then
can
and
just
then you
come and carry them and put them in a plantation.
yeah, and the repercussion is, yeah, like you're saying, is massive with
Mhm.
time. With time, the repercussion is just massive. Yeah. Yeah.
DJ Brilliant.
Loretta is saying some people are graduates with empty heads and yet do the balance game when it comes to the educational system in Cameroon. I think the both parties are to be held accountable.
Right.
Yeah, the education is education is a big problem. Uh, in terms of like primary and secondary education, I'm cool with that. But the problem is tertiary education when you want to train someone to do a job.
Yeah.
That's when I have the biggest remorse because
Me too.
um, I don't know what we are training people for.
Yeah.
I don't know what
Me
they're
too. Me
training
too.
people
And
for.
actually, what I can say about that is in line with the question Loretta asked about like are people willing to the youth of today willing to get into like politics. So this is what I think, right? Uh, I, for one, no matter how I run my mouth about stop thanking the president, you make me the president, I will not do anything. I'll fail. Even if you make me the mayor of Boya, I will fail. If you make me the mayor of my village, I'm not sure I can, right? And I'll tell you why. It's because of the passion that it takes to serve, right? I would serve the way it's in my DNA. That's taking into consideration all the factors like fear and my culture and things like that. I would probably be thinking that being made mayor means I'm a big man. I'll forget that I'm supposed to serve. You see?
Yeah.
So with that in the pipeline, and then where do I get my data from about this? I can't remember the last time I was passionate, especially when I was in school. I can't remember when I was passionate about homework. Like, let's say in UB, how many students do you know that love their project? That final year project that they do, right? How many students do you know that love it so much that you see them putting in the work to get it done? Most of them will copy and paste. Look for an old project that came from the year before them, copy and paste it just to get through that, right? And so when I look at that and look at myself too, I will do that. So which means, will I even be passionate enough to run an office? Will I be passionate enough to lead my city to progress? Because if small project in UB, I just wanted to copy and paste. So if they put me now, if I'm the mayor, I don't know if you see what I mean. DJ, small project that you have to do, that you have many months that teaches you about project management, research topic, how to be focused. That I just dismiss it. You think if I go now to lead a council with councillors who will be able to then do projects? When I think of this, I just think I'm not ready.
About projects at uni, there are some things that we need to understand. Let's pick engineering. Let's pick any field at uni. Universities should be people should understand that universities are a place where you spy and you get the next idea. Why am I saying that? Is because normally what should happen is this. A rich person, rather than saying what should happen, I'm just going to paint a new figure, like a new image of a university project. Imagine, give me one big company in Cameroon.
Nestle.
Owned by a Cameroonian.
Kaji.
Let's take Kaji. Kaji as a company, they have many problems. That's undeniable. I'm sure they have many problems.
They should.
So if today the CEO of Kaji, let's imagine that they have a problem to bottle beers, and it makes them lose a lot of money to bottle beers. What a sensible company will do, they will take 10 millions, or they will take an amount, and they will go to the University of Boya and say, okay, you guys train mechanical engineers. We want the final year students, and we are going to give you 5 projects that we are going to support financially. Or let's say we are not even going to support it financially, but we want you to include these 4 projects, which is designing a capsule for the beer to bottle it, designing a new bottle for the beer with this set of requirements, closing the bottle. So we give you 4 different projects at UB, and we are going to finance 5 million francs CFA to UB to put these projects for the final year mechanical engineering program. So that at the end of those 4 years training that people do, students can now pick those projects and say, okay, I want to work on this project from Kaji, because I know at the end there is a possibility to be hired by Kaji. This is what universities do. Universities, someone should not just go like that and pick their projects, especially not in our case, because most likely the project that they will pick is not in sync with their environment or with the job prospects.
I see what you mean.
So this is where the problem comes, because we view universities as a place where you just go and get the degree. You don't just go and get the degree.
It's not professional, Well, the Catholic University in Boya, remember when I was there, That was the
Yeah,
philosophy. Like they were talking about sustainable development, and most of the people that went there, I think they're working now. Even the trade fair. Remember the trade fair? There are students
yeah,
that used to do that,
yeah,
and they would organize that. And there's a whole relationship that is cemented with all of these companies, and the students can just jump ship.
yeah,
You see, yeah,
yeah.
I see what you mean. Yeah,
So this is what a university project is for.
yeah,
Unfortunately, most university projects that we see today, I think most of the university projects that we see back home, is just you take it and then you throw it, are real life projects that have the chance to be implemented as soon as
it's
they
like
finish
it's like a small
universities.
PhD problem, DJ. Take for example, uh, Alan Turing, who is like credited with the father of computing. He solved one of the central limit theorem of calculus, central limit theorem problem in his undergrad. He solved that, and they told him that thank you for the good work that somebody has solved it before you. So
Yeah,
he started to solve another problem. That's how he ended up creating the computing model we have today. I get that
yeah,
point, right? If at least, and that's I captured all of those when I was saying that the passion is not there. If at least me and you be, I was trying to answer a question in my research, my undergrad
yeah,
research, with the passion that is needed, then how what stopped me from building a plane? Because it's the same process that I will use. I ask a question, I look for what I need in order to answer the question, I get the things, I assemble it, I make a plan, I try to execute the plan, I test, look at my objectives, see how far I've gone, and then I rinse and repeat. But that process was not there. I didn't enjoy it. So how will I be able to become the mayor, and then I want to organize even Christmas party, and I do it well without me squandering all the money or missing steps because I don't really know what it means to plan.
yeah.
Yeah. So all of those.
So
Yeah. So
yeah,
all of
that's
those.
where universities should be spying, should be acting as spies for companies.
Yeah.
That's what universities are in most uh, I say in most sensible
Yeah.
countries or in most sensible regions. Universities are spies for
And that
companies.
that goes
Apple,
around.
for example, will go and have little projects in University of Maryland.
I
Let's
man,
assume.
I won it's Microsoft scholarship. I had a Microsoft
Uh,
scholarship from Microsoft,
yeah,
and Google also was always in my school because the co-founder of Google, Sergey Brin went to College Park, University of Maryland.
yeah,
So they have all these programs. I remember we used to be excited. I had even Google Socks. Like everything, you put it on like Google this, Google that. Everything is Google, Google. It used to be interesting. So yes, these companies have that kind of relationship, and it's good because it goes round, in the sense that nowadays universities are learning from in industry. Academia is learning from industry, machine learning, all of those things. You see Google Brain, when they release their papers, university professors go there. If Google did not pay them already, right, they will go there and then see that, oh, these guys are Google, they came up with Google Brain. Or long story short, all the knowledge we know about operating systems today, they came from the works of Ken Thompson and people like that. But they went around from MIT and all of those schools to the working thing, back to
the working for,
academia,
and then back.
back to
Yeah,
workforce, back to academia. So you see that it goes round, and that's how progress is happening as that wheel is turning.
yeah,
You see?
and even PhD programs. You
Mm-hmm.
have two types of PhD programs. You have the PhD programs, well, from what I've noticed,
Yeah.
from my experience in universities,
Mm-hmm.
you have the kind of PhD programs that are funded by governments,
Mm-hmm.
which is the government. Let's say today the government decides, okay, we need a new way to distribute electricity in our country.
Mm-hmm.
So you will go and find the best engineering university in your country and you say, okay, we are ready to invest 10 million
Mm-hmm.
in the development of a new way to distribute electricity.
Yeah.
So, and then you will fund PhD programs for that.
Yes.
That's what should happen.
Mm-hmm.
Like today, for example, there is a spike in violence in Cameroon,
Yeah.
but people with sociology degrees, are they having funding from the government to study that?
True.
We should be, I mean, if you're studying sociology is a brilliant field. I used to think that sociology is,
Oh, me
when I was
too.
in
It's
university or
amazing.
whatever,
Yeah.
I used to think that people who study sociology, fuck that.
Yeah.
I don't care
It's
about
the
that.
people that cannot
But
think. They come and
it's
see that
actually very important.
They study everything, statistics, all of those things.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's important to have to know how your population is feeling, to know what is happening
yeah,
in your population. But if those fundings are coming from people who have no, who don't care about that particular issue, they will fund PhD programs that have nothing to do with the environment. So so it should be funded by the government. This is the first type of PhD programs that we should consider. Now, the second time should be funded by private companies, where we painted a picture of Kaji. They will have
yeah,
a problem. All companies have a problem. All companies are looking for new ways to improve. They
yeah,
have R&D departments.
yeah, right.
Now they can decide, okay, we can invest 10 million. Let's go and fund these PhD programs.
Yeah,
And we're
yeah,
looking for people to find solutions.
yeah. I
Now,
see.
once they find those solutions, yeah, it's published, but now they will take it and use it for their own gains.
Yeah, I see.
And this is how the wheel of innovation continues.
Yeah, and for example, right, DJ, like language. For example, me, if my dream, if I have to do PhD, I'll do it in computational linguistics, so that I can mix like philosophy and languages, and then build compilers that use them. You see, and my school actually leads is one of the leaders in language technologies, building compilers. I remember my professor, my professor, a young guy actually is a leader in that field, and even the algorithms person, but they lean towards languages, and perhaps that's why when most people leave, they can go to Google, because you know that Google search box has its language. Like Google does a lot with languages, like apart from using their own languages. So I see what you mean. Once you can have these companies, they can always spearhead the next big thing, you see, by just funding these PhD studies. And even that's how space technologies, even physics, a bunch of things, progress that has been made in physics is because of like directed funding like that, where they try to
Yeah,
encourage people in those fields.
I remember uh, because and this I realized this because I didn't know this. I realized this when I'm in my fourth year school,
Yeah,
and then I realized that a lecturer comes in class and he's like, "Oh, after your bachelor, because it's a honors year, you can jump straight to a PhD program." And we have received funding from the government um, to develop this new photonic blah blah blah.
yeah,
Well, it's a sensor. They want to develop gas sensors.
yeah,
So they want to develop new type of gas sensors that will be injected in someone's stomach, and we can measure the gas that you're producing and kind of qualify or
wow, tell
quantify
me more about it. Yeah, yeah,
your digestion.
yeah,
So
right.
because people have these kind of problems, I don't have these kind of problems. I didn't know, but they were explaining, and they said that they have received funding from the government because it's something that is affecting a lot of population.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
the
I see.
government the government wants this fixed. So they have funded the university to find these problems. And then this triggered me, and I was like, oh. So and then I went into this portal, this uni portal, where
Yeah,
they have different projects and different PhD programs.
yeah,
And then I started looking at different PhD programs and who is funding them. It's either the government, it could be the defense department of the
yeah.
government, could
That's
be
the
this,
main guy that
it's
always
either
does
the
those things.
government
Hmm.
or a company.
Yeah, that's how computers came to be, DJ. Like von Neumann, Alan Turing, Church, Alonzo Church. They were like Princeton, von Neumann. They were funded by the Department of Defense to in order to
Yeah,
crack codes during the Second World War. They wanted to
yeah,
be cracking German codes, so they were funded people to do those. You see, and that whole culture actually in can, like we're saying, can always lead to more that people can produce. And
yeah.
nowadays, like I remember a few years back, when that's why when I hear a lot of people talk about cybersecurity, and I use it to like weigh the real thing that they call cybersecurity. Because in my
Mm-hmm.
school, since cyberspace is actually becoming it's actually more than what we think. There's a lot that's going on in cyberspace. So the government is making an endeavor to have its own army. When I say army, its own citizens being able to like react in cyberspace to threats and things like that. So in my school, they instituted a whole program for cybersecurity, and there were incentives that were given to students. when I looked at the curriculum, man, only the mathematics and cryptography that was there, I was like, man, I'm not ready for this thing now. It was just too much. You see, but the
Yeah,
incentive was heavy. I have a friend that did it. And he's a wonderful programmer now, man. I used to do his homework with him because I said,
yeah,
okay, I will not do the program, but I will see how they do it. So my friend, I will see
yeah.
how he'll be cracking these things. It was amazing. But they had huge incentives from the government.
From the government.
Yeah.
Yeah, that this is. I think universities should be treated as spy structure for government and private
Yeah.
companies. That's what it should be.
That's
That's the
why things like
for me. That's the
FIFA.
purpose
That's
of
why
it.
things like
Oh,
FIFA they're in business because they have their scouts. Like the whole thing is going. They have the football schools. There are scouts that are watching there, and there are people that, for example, let's say if you look at soccer, soccer actually and football is changed, right? Like before, maybe you had some kind of disorder. Like people were just clearing the bush. Like especially when you started watching soccer from Intercartier, you see
yeah,
that the way they're playing, the structure is different. And then you watch your first match on TV, you see that they have coordinated passes and stuff.
yeah,
Maybe it's slow, but as time went on, speed. When it's just simple like Dortmund or Bayern or Barcelona, how they're playing, it means even
yeah,
football schools have to start playing like that. You see what I mean? So it's the same thing that is needed in the normal academia. You have to be
yeah.
looking at the industry and being like, okay, what is the way now? What is the state of the art?
Yes,
What is the state of the
yes.
art? What is the state of the art? Yeah, I see what you mean. Yeah,
That's how it should be. I think that's how it should be. Um,
mashallah.
we still have a long way to go, but
We do.
that's why you
We'll do
should.
it,
That's
man.
why you should be a multimillionaire, so you can go and fund University of Boya
Yeah.
and start giving money to and
I'll create my
start
own
putting your
school.
projects there to recruit people.
I will build my own school in my village. like most people, I'll just go to my village because I really want to do that, DJ, in the sense that I remember the day I understood calculus. When I understood calculus, a light bulb went in my head. Like I was
With
like, man,
Pakwala,
no, not here in America. After doing calculus 3 times, right? I could solve calculus problems, solve all of this, but that was just out of practice. I did not really understand the essence of it, like the rate of change. So I let me just say the story. I read this book, this math book, that they were saying that this guy was president. Let's say Trump, for example, is
uh huh,
president, and then they say the rate at which he's losing his supporters is appalling. You see, so the guy
mm-hmm.
was saying that that is calculus right there, because you see that maybe the first time he had more supporters, and then maybe a quarter of them dropped. So you are able to
Mm-hmm.
know how much have dropped because you know how he got from nothing to something, and then how the something evolved to something else. You see, so when I realized that, man, is that what I've been trying to do when I was doing calculus? My mind is like a light bulb blew up in my head because a lot of us
Yeah,
use it. There are people that an iPhone comes out and they don't want to buy it now. They know that the price will fall. So they wait for the
yeah.
price to fall. Then when you take that guy and put him in a calculus class, right? I'm trying to teach him that same thing that he has been using. He will not
You'll be like,
understand it.
yeah,
You see, yeah. So
yeah. Maths is beautiful. It's like I love maths. Unfortunately, I couldn't do more of
yeah.
it.
Man, you taught me math. Like you taught me certain things when I was not even man DJ man. I have to be eternally grateful to you. You and the guys that Polo too. I remember when you actually taught me how to solve problems. I'm not sure you even knew it. Like I once had a problem in when I started learning C. Isaiah gave me the problem. So we had a formula that way to express something like C equals blah 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 blah. So I tried to do it, I could not do it. So when I came to you, I showed you, you said, it's very simple. You created different variables. You created one variable that will capture like this times this. You created another variable that will capture this plus this, and then you just expressed all of them in one line. Then it hit me that that looks like a simultaneous equation or a normal equation in mathematics. So so
Yeah,
so
yeah.
you did that, and when I saw it, I was like, whoa. You see, and it actually changed the way I looked at things. Yeah, for
You and
real.
your stories.
Yeah, you never remember these
I'm
things.
not some. I don't even remember, but yeah,
You
you and
remember
your
when I started
stories.
Catholic University? I started Catholic
Yeah.
University. I was in Yaps, you in Yellow, right?
Yes.
So I
Yes.
told you that I'm doing programming. I'm doing C. You told me that you
Yeah.
used to do it in math, right? You told me your
Yeah.
experience. I was like, okay, I would let you know if I need to show you something. So then I had that problem and I came to you and you solved it, DJ, in like 1 minute. Like bam, when that thing has been sampling me for a very long time. So it taught me a way of thinking about things like that. You see.
Yeah.
And it was a very simple problem, but just because I did not know how to think like that.
Do you know how I learned this? I learned this on my own when I was probably 8, 9. No, not 8, 9. I'll say 13, 14. So when we bought the computer, my dad bought the computer with many books.
Okay.
So my first computer, I had my first computer when I went to high school.
Okay.
I was 10, 11, something like that. And my dad bought a computer with many books. It was a book on Visual Basic. There was a book on C, and there was a book on the hardware.
Wow.
Thick books like this, all thick. And I don't know, I was just curious. So, and behind all those books, there was a CD. So you will have a book. I'll show you.
Yeah,
so you will have the book here.
Yeah,
and at the back of the book, you will have a CD.
The CD, yeah. That will have
So
the software.
Exactly.
I know.
So I would always go and take the CD, put it in there, and then immerse myself into what this is.
Yeah.
That's how I immersed myself. I started with basic.
Yeah.
Because that's actually what my dad told me. Okay, you should read this book. You're just spending your time on the computer or music and do this. You should read this book. And one day I just went and I took it. You know how parents are in Cameroon, they just tell you things like that.
Yeah, and
then they go away. Parents don't teach you anything in Cameroon. They just throw you in the ocean.
That's on pity my kid, DJ. Just sneak peek. The man is always 1 month old. I took this platonic solids, right? This and 3Ds, this 3-dimensional cube, things like that. Icosahedron. I showed him. I put it on his face. The man looked at it and then he put his hand on his face. So I was like, I will show you Pepe. So I will follow him up. Like I will show him the thing and I will follow him up. He must it's a must. Anyway, sorry, continue.
So Cameroonian parents are like that. They are very good at throwing you in the ocean and you figure out yourself.
You're right.
So he gave it to me, and then I started with basic. I took the basic book, and then I started reading, and behind it you had a CD, so you could take the CD and install the whole IDE.
Yes.
So you install the whole IDE, and then it shows you, when you go through the book, it shows you how to create your own Windows.
Yeah.
Because it was Windows 95 at that time, or 2000, I can't remember, or Windows 98.
Yeah.
So you could install it and then create your own window, put forms, put all these things. And then the first day when I took it, I started looking at it, and then I started creating a calculator. And then that's how slowly I started. And then that's how I understood basic. And then the next thing that I took was C. C was a bit harder. They had the CD, and then you had to install a compiler.
Turbo C?
You had to
what did he use? What and Turbo C? What compiler was that? I remember my first compiler.
I can't remember which one it was, but you had to install all of these things, the whole IDE. They will explain to you that, okay, you're writing in C, but you will be converted into machine code.
You need a preprocessor and
assembly.
shit like that.
And then you have they explained that all, but this was in French, obviously, but they explained all that.
Yeah.
And then there was also a hardware book. The hardware book was the hardest for me to understand. I remember the first time when I took the hardware book, I decided to open the computer to see myself, what was inside. So I opened it, and then when I opened it, I couldn't put it back together. So we had to call the technician to come. So we called the technician to come. We only called the technician once.
Yeah. And then after that, you put it apart again, I think.
Yes.
I know.
So I just learned all of this on my own. So that's why when I went to UB, if you noticed, I was really bored at UB. When I went to UB, really bored with computer science, especially because when I went to UB, most of the things that we were being taught, I had done them myself. Like when they were starting things like C and things like that.
Compilers, you already knew how to write your own full-blown program and compile it. So why would we see your time?
I just got bored of it. Yeah.
And another thing you taught me, DJ, let me remind you, was Excel. So that was during is it 2000? What World Cup was that? What was the last World Cup that was there? Is it 2008? Like
I have to go in 5 minutes, Brian.
Okay.
I have a meeting with a colleague in 5 minutes.
All right, DJ. Well, we can wrap up. Wait, let me tell you this. You taught me how to program Excel, and then Cameroon was playing in the World Cup. You taught me that okay, you could do if statements. Like we'll say that okay, if I put the point here, you should update this, and that's how we'll know if Cameroon will qualify. So when you taught me that, I learned how to program Excel cells, and today I use that skill. And so those are things that, man, there are many things that we used to chat. You show me like that, I would just be like, whoa, it would blow my mind, and then I will start working on them. And then me too, I don't like to, when I see something, I also do my own magic. I will explore it until I also took that and went to certain heights.
Nice. Yeah. Excel is my dad who taught me Excel. We didn't have a book on Excel, but when he taught me that same trick that you're telling me, he taught me the same thing. And from there, I was like, oh, I can do this. And then I just expanded on that. Once you see that you can have formulas with you're like, whoa.
It's amazing, man. It's amazing.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Even when I want to teach people Excel, that's the thing I show them. That take that stuff from there. Well, it's amazing. It's amazing to chatting with you. Man, continue.
We talk for a long time.
Yes, let's continue. Let's catch up again. You know, earlier when we started this stuff, we're always talking regularly. Let's do that if we have chance. I'm sure that the waves of like busybody at my end will probably be going down. So I pray Subhanahu wa Ta'ala to help me, give me the chance so we can chat more.
Yeah. Anytime, man. Let me know if I'm free. I'll jump on.
Right.
I wasn't free today, but I was like, let me chat with with the participant.
Yeah. Well, DJ, thanks. All those that were tuned in, thanks for your time. Tino is there. I think next time, DJ, we can chat again about the AYC and stuff like that.
Yep.
All right. Thank you. Thanks, Loretta. Thanks, everyone, for joining. Until we meet again.
Yeah. Thanks, Loretta. Loretta has put a lot of comments.
All right. Bye, guys. See ya.
Bye.